Yo, what is happening? Welcome to another episode of Hope. We are here. We ready to chop some game, exchange ideas, hopefully add value to you guys tonight. So wherever you are, turn up the volume. We got another one for you. We're not going to stop. We're going to continue giving you our best work based on the knowledge, experience, and real-time experience that we have. I think what, again, separates what we do here from a lot of things is you are you're listening to some of these ideas that are being implemented real time to the people that's speaking them to you. So in this world of over information and in generalist, you have to get really good at understanding who and who not to take ideas from and listen to. Like there are literally people who get paid hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to give advice on things that they have very little or no experience in. So discernment is key for this next wave, this next generation of technology. So, you know, most people are already starting to get pretty good at determining whether something's AI or not, right? Like you see Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton dancing together on a subway and it looks real because you know that your consciousness and common sense says that wouldn't happen. That must be AI, right? Now think about a generation that's raised that doesn't have your experience. It's going to be harder for them to determine whether or not something is AI based on just lack of context and understanding and common sense around the situation. So that's what happens a lot with entrepreneurship too, is once we decide we want to be an entrepreneur, we start looking. But we don't have the experience. So you have to really use a heuristic around that to say, what are the results? Let's look at this person's results, and not only the results, the context around the results. Because you can have a person could have a great run with bad strategy. You know, you can have a great run with bad strategy. Or if you're an attractive person, then your ideas are going to feel a little more believable. It's the truth. So discernment is necessary for this next wave. Because it's going to be more and more difficult over time to discern the real from the fake. And so what's dope about this is, you know, you're hearing it from people who have to do it, and their livelihood depends on it. So it's going to be rare you're going to hear some bullshit or some filler or some fluff or some shit that don't really make sense or doesn't get used. All right, so title of this class is called Rules of the Game. Hey, can you play that one thing? You know the rules of the game. Where's that at?
I mean, you know the rules of the game.
Hey, you know the rules of the game. Hey, right. It's a dope ass title, by the way. So let's recap, because I think last week it was some pretty poignant thoughts and ideas, and I want to drive them in a little harder so that you can remember them. So what's the first one? Dead time versus alive time. I got it, Shakina. Don't worry about it. We got pieces like, let me stop. Dead time versus alive time. So remember, 24 hours, we all have it. 24 hours, we all have it a day. If you're good, 8 of it you're spending sleep. 8 of it you're spending sleep. So you really have, what's that, 16? You got 16 a day. How much of it are you spending eating? 1, 2 max? 2, 1? Let's say 2. So now you're down to what?
14.
14 hours. You ate for 2 and you slept for 8. What about going to the bathroom? Let's say 30 minutes a day. Now you got 13 and a half hours. And those are just gone. You have to do those every day. So you really down to 13.5. Now, what if you got cars? How much time do you spend in the car driving?
Another hour.
Another hour for you? What about the ones who commute? 2, 3 hours? 4 if you live past anything. But say the average you spend, if you locally you said an hour, but just on average 2 hours. Now you're down to 11 hours a day to be as productive as you can. We haven't talked about if you got kids. Cooking for your kids, spending time. How much quality time do you want to spend with your child a day? Huh? How much quality time? An hour? 2? An hour? Now you down to what? In the single digits? You in the motherfucking single digits and you haven't done one thing for yourself yet. How? How is it possible? How could I build something? How can I create something? How can I build a business? Have a tremendous impact on society, on this world, in my community, in my neighborhood. Fuck it. With 9 hours, it's this right here. Dead time versus alive time. You gotta make as much of your dead time alive as possible without multitasking. So if you work out every day, how many hours you work out? How long is your workout?
2 hours.
2? 2 on average? 2? Huh. So now y'all down to 7 hours, huh?
I'm audio booking.
7 hours. You about to steal my thing. Spoiler alert. Now you're down to 7 hours. So how do you get to, I read an hour a day and I read, how do you do that then? A dead time versus a lifetime. What's in your earpods? What's in your car on the way home, on the way back? Who are you talking to on the phone? What are those conversations like? Is it fucking gossip for an hour? Or when you got off the phone, did you learn something and elevate? See, me and my partners, we don't have conversations like that without getting off the phone and there's some game being exchanged. If we talk shit about something or even gossip about something, it's probably a cool 4 minutes. But the rest, it's exchanging value. We leveled up. We leveled each other up. Hey, go watch this podcast. This podcast is dope. Hey, have you thought about this book? Have you heard this thing? You can't get off the phone without chopping game. So you immediately made that phone call an alive phone call. That's an alive phone call. If you listening to audio, you reading, you listening to books in your dead time, your driving time, or sometimes your workout time, it's alive. If your quality time with someone is spent teaching, engaging, adding value, then you're investing. It's coming back to you. Now, when you sitting at work, say that's 7.5 hours that you talking about, when you sitting at work, or you're doing whatever the thing it is you're doing, here's another question. How much time you scrolling on social media? Huh? Keep it real. Well, fuck, you ain't got to lie to kick it in here. I got a lie detector test in this motherfucker. How much time you scroll on Instagram? What about Facebook? What about TikTok? Well, maybe, yeah. Josh over there being Josh. How much time? So you have 7.5 hours to change the world. How much time you spend on Instagram? An hour to get that post just right? Make it perfect? Is it an hour? Is it an hour? Can we just say an hour? Yeah? Yeah? Dead time. Nobody gave a fuck about that post. 5 times 7 is, 1 times 7 is 7, right? 7 times 4 is 28. That's 28 hours a month you spent. Dead time. What's 28 times 12? Huh? So that's no. 28 times 12, that's 280. That's about 300 and 336. So 336. So that's 336 hours a year you wasted on shit nobody gave a fuck about. 336 hours. So that you know how much time you spend on Instagram a year? 1 month out of your year is spent on Instagram. One work week month you spent on Instagram and didn't get paid for that month. Think about it. That's just Instagram. That's just 1 hour a day. Dead time versus a lifetime. Fuck, I just spent a whole month. A whole month. If we talking time, attention, money, you can't get that time back. And we trying to change our community. We trying to add value to our community. We trying to give back. We trying to impact, build something, create generational wealth. We talk about get out the hood, get better situations out of from our families, have our kids living better and all that shit. And we spent a whole month, a motherfucking year, scrolling and fucking posting shit on a site that nobody gives a fuck about. Nobody cares. Dead time. Dead time. Now that we put it that way, like how you feel about that shit? Like,
I did not because I was good at seeing myself, but I did a screen audit time because of Gabby. And I was like, yo, let me see your screen time and see, like, not just how much time you're spending on your phone, but how many hours you're spending on each application. And then she was like, well, let me see your screen time. And so then we both did phone audits on like where we were spending our time. And from that, what I got was trying to turn that dead time into a live time. So I put timers on all of my apps, and I can only have an accumulative total of 2 hours every day. And then everything shuts down after that. And then even while I'm on those things, like I blocked off and unfollowed hella stuff that was capturing my time or attention, and I started following accounts that had like industry impact or that had things that would add value to me as opposed to like gossipy things. And it helped me to turn more of that time into a live time, because like now I'm using it as a learning platform. Now I'm using it as a way to refine my skill set. Now I'm using it as a time to pour back into myself, as opposed to just like boredom doom scrolling. But like that was one of those things, because I was trying to parent better, it taught me to like look at myself in a different way and have more ownership over what I'm doing as I'm asking her to change her behaviors and patterns too.
Sheesh. Check this out. You created a timer to hold you to 2 hours a day. That means, what was you doing before that?
I wasn't really doing a lot, but I just didn't give myself a cutoff time. Like,
think about it though. That's crazy. Crazy. Sheesh. And don't get me wrong. Those things are programmed to be addicting as fuck. They prey on your consciousness. They prey on all your senses. It's hard to get off of these social media sites. It's difficult. They're good. Any vice that you have, any weakness that you have, any fear, any insecurity, man, they gonna tap into that and get you. And then once they realize where your strengths are, they just flood you with all variations of those things. It knows your type. So when you go in your search section, all your little types is in there. So understand, now you're at about 5.5 hours a day to be productive. So just keep in mind, dead time versus alive time, you are always looking to ensure that you are trying to feed your day with as much alive time as possible. Next slide. How can I serve you? That is the mantra for the year. It is the mantra. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? That's what it's all about. Like, how can I serve you? This applies in every single aspect of your life. If you're my son or daughter, how can I serve you? Which means, how can I raise you in a way that optimizes you and your value as a human being? If you're a partner in a relationship, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? If you're a customer, how can I serve you? If you're a friend, how can I serve you? Meaning, how can I get the fuck out of my own way to make sure that I'm helping you maximize your value? And remember, for me to be my best version of myself for me to give you my best service, I have to be the best version of myself. So it doesn't mean I'm a martyr and I'll die. I'll give myself give you my last breath. No. It also doesn't mean, well, if you fucked up, then I'm gonna be fucked up too because I'm that loyal. No. I gotta be the best version of myself so that I can show up to you in a way that's the most optimal. How can I serve you? You want more customers? How can I serve you? You want to generate more revenue? You find better ways to serve your customers. Point blank, period.
Can I ask a question? So I ran into Nana earlier at the gym, and he had made a comment to me in previous days that one of my problems was that I please and I don't serve. And so I listened to like some podcasts, like Googled it, used ChatGPT, came up with like some tangible things that I could think about so that I could like see myself first and then figure out like how I could start an adjustment pattern. And I was like, is it cool if I ask this question in class? So it's kind of cool that the slide is up there. But can we talk about the difference for an entrepreneur specifically about serving versus pleasing? Because I think that we tend to confuse the two as synonymous, and they're different, but they're subtle differences. And that's what I've come across so far is like, I thought that I had like amazing service and like all these things, and it came down to like the long-term, short-term thinking and planning and strategy and how it's received and whatnot. And I'd love to talk about that in class.
That's a dope-ass question. Dope-ass question. If I can sum it up into two things, it's pleasing responds to content. Serving responds to context. So if you're a people pleaser, you're hopping around for what a person's saying. People pleaser. Oh, what do you? Okay, you want me to do this today and that tomorrow? What you're saying. Service says, I'm analyzing the context of what a person is saying, what they're feeling, the whys behind why they're saying it. You go deeper. So service means you almost know what they want before they ask. Because you're not listening for content, you're listening for context. I mean, you're not listening for content, you're listening for context. For patterns in their speech to give deeper understanding of what really is going on. Oh, you're afraid. Oh, this is a trust thing. It has nothing to do with what you're saying on the surface. You don't trust. You would rather a place be cleaner than to have fancy pictures on the wall, based on what the context of what you're saying, not the content. You know what I'm saying? You're listening for what people don't say. If you spend hella money on something because you want to please the customers, and you spend hella money on this kiosk and thing, digital thing, and the customer walks right past it and wants to talk to a human, and you say, "Yeah, just use the kiosk." Everybody's been asking about it, and they're like, "Oh, okay," but they keep walking past it because they want to talk to the human. That's not customer service. You're pleasing and pandering to what they're saying. Those are the two. I think. So those are two distinctions that I see. Of course, there's more.
Let me add a couple.
Yeah.
One is selfish and one is selfless. If you give a gift, if somebody gives you a gift that's trying to please you, it's often not what you want, because they didn't see you. They were thinking about them giving it to you. They're trying to raise their status and sense of self-value by giving to others. Serving is an outward experience. It's surrendering. It's almost like a religious experience. It's like surrendering you for a greater cause, right? So, for example, if I'm serving you, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to focus on I'm not trying to, what am I supposed to say? I'm trying to serve you. I'm trying to please you, because the words could be interchangeable here. I'm trying to please you, but it's based upon what you need, and I'm here to service you based upon the greater goal of what I'm trying to achieve in my relationship to other people. Pleasing people is, I did a good thing by you. I really feel good about what I did for you. It made me feel good because I helped you out, right? It's a narcissistic. Pleasing is more narcissistic. Serving is it's a more humble space, because, I don't know if anybody have a family member said, "Hey, come help me work on this garage." You didn't get to go in there and do what you want to do. You were in there going, "Oh, I hate this shit." But you also love that you're there to help that person out. A person who's trying to please are going to look for opportunities to impress you, but they're not going to pay attention to what you need. It's almost like Because at the end of the day, they want you to say they want to get a grade. Servitude can go unnoticed. You can serve for years, no one ever knows you served, right? And every servant is taught you got to learn how to serve in a space where it's not about you. But we're in a society now where everybody's been raised to seek attention. So when they go to serve, they're really moving to please because they want the person to give them, oh my God, I feel so good. What if the person goes and then walks out your place? Do you still feel good about serving them? Or is it that you're looking for a response to be validated? Is your servitude your commitment to the bigger story, your commitment to your business, commitment to God, whatever that is it tied to that, or is it tied to I'm looking for instant reciprocity, instant return? And pleasing, a person who's looking for pleasing can be highly offended if you give them a gift and go, you're offended. A person is serving realizes it's really not about you. If you don't like it or do like it, I'm here to serve. It's a big difference because that means if you're in a pleasing state, that means your long-term service that you're trying to provide is fragile. Piss me off, it's done. Irritate me, done. Don't show appreciation, done. Don't give me some kind of reciprocity based upon what I've been giving you, I'm done.
Yeah. Hey, here's another example. If we wanted to please this the students of Hope, he runs a marketing firm. I don't eat without marketing. We can have this motherfucker cracking. Am I lying?
Yeah.
But it's not about pleasing, it's about service. Because we can change the words, we can change the framing and the priming and the anchoring to raise all the hype, to have it cracking, hella people, all the time. But the energy of service is way more important than the pleasing of people. Next slide.
The disease of me.
Now, ties in what was just talked about. Because a lot of people so self-centered and selfish that all they think about is themselves. So you can put any lens through a person who has a disease of me, and it'll always end up about them. Always. No matter what it is. So if you hella selfish and you then we can say any word and it will tie back to you, because the disease of me, it's a pull, it's a magnetism toward what about me? What's in it for me? How does this apply to me? So when you want an entrepreneur, yeah, on the surface, I'm doing it to give back and to build my community up. But internally, when you listen to the context well enough, you'll hear it. It's about me. The I disease. But guess what? Your customers can hear it too. Your customers can sense it. They can feel it. And you don't even understand why they're not fucking with you. Or you're not growing like you think you want to, or you think you deserve to. But that disease of me it's showing. I had a partner, man, him and his wife, back in maybe 20 years ago. They were a dope couple, but they were straight hustlers, man. Like they say, hey, I want to invite you and your wife over for dinner. Cool, sure. That's nice of you. We go over, they start cooking, talking. She corners my ex-wife to become some Avon representative, and he cornered me to talk me into some pyramid thing. Mid-meal. That was their hustle. Everybody in the church, they invite them over and corner their ass. So it's that energy now. Every time you see them, it's like, there they go. So selfish ass sinner. You can't even, like, hella selfish. The disease of me is permeating so strong that you can't even think that ain't cool to do. So next time you invite, no, I ain't coming over your fucking house. Like, what? So, and eventually there becomes isolation. Because remember, then I talked about givers, takers, and matchers, right?
I was just thinking about
So once you become tagged as a taker, isolation happens. People stop fucking with you. So this disease is not a cold. This can lead to death, business death, friendship death, relationship death. You'll eventually isolate everyone around you because eventually you're gonna fuck up. You're around you long enough, you're gonna fuck up. Now, there's an exception for people who provide tremendous value to that person. So as long as they can get value from you, then they'll be cool with you. But until then, in the minute that's not there no more, fuck you. Disease of me. Disease of me. So once you flip that around to the previous slide of how can I serve you, then that can allow you to realize this shit ain't all about you. We can't get ahead just with ourselves. We need people. We need the culture of people. We need the tribe of people. So there are certain rules of the tribe that we have to engage in. Now, we ain't all got to be perfect. And some of us ain't been raised right. So some of us don't even got the tools. I know I don't. Of even knowing what proper etiquette is, because I wasn't raised. So some things I was like, damn, you was offended by that? That's wrong to do? Shit. My bad. I didn't know. But in general, we have to learn how to work with the tribe. We got to learn. Got to learn. If not, and if this is you, then you got to acknowledge it. That's all. Acknowledge it and start working towards it. And some of that's just shutting the fuck up. Letting another person talk. Some of it's shutting the fuck up and saying, oh, that's good for you. That's excellent. Good job. Versus, well, one time I did that too. What? I got a new car. Well, I got a new car too. What'd you get? Oh, well, I got the upgraded model. Man, I'm going through some shit. I'm going through some shit too, man. You're not the only one. Well, damn, blood. That's the disease of me. And some of it is just working on it. You might have to bite your tongue for a while and just say, man, and allow space for others to be great. Allow space for others to have their room. Allow space for others to have successes. And it's going to maybe be tough for a while. I'm the youngest of 8. So believe me, it was in my DNA to fight for attention. What about me? Like, youngest of 8. So it took me some time, some years to etch away at that. Because my natural youngest kid energy is always like, but I've learned, I've isolated myself from that. So and that caused, like, being the youngest of 8 started the over competitiveness because I got to fight for this attention. So just unravel it. It's not the end of the world. Just unravel it. First, you got to acknowledge it, though. If you act like it don't exist or act like it ain't you, then you just going to continue having it. But you got to first acknowledge it. So I'll start it off by saying I had it too, y'all. I had it too. Took me years. And kids. and spouses and all the things to etch away at it. Because once you get kids, it helps you realize it ain't about you. Hey, are you Andre's dad? Are you Anala's dad? Oh, I'm not even Courtney no more. Okay. Yeah, it ain't about you. It's the kids. That helps. But also service helps. Like service helps. You know what? The last point is, with this disease of me, it's impossible for you to quit playing the right and wrong game with this disease. It's just impossible. Because you feel it in your soul that you're so right. You gotta defend yourself. I gotta defend. No, hold on. I gotta say this. You gotta say it? You fucking gotta say it? No, I gotta say it. That's not right. You're not right. Come on, man. Like, same thing with the original, like, hey, I'm in this Hope class. I'm learning all this shit in a Hope class. It's hella funny because it damn near sounds like this. Man, I'm taking this Hope class. Correct me if I'm wrong. And my knowledge is just going like this. I'm just getting so much knowledge. And now I'm around all these people, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't even want to be around them. Like, how do you do this? Like, how do you know this much and be around human beings? Like, yo, shut your ass up. Sucker ass. You mixing this knowledge with the disease of me. You ain't even applied none of this shit yet. You ain't made $1 yet off this shit. And now you just, oh man, like, how do you talk to the little people now? Like, the fucking book is out there for everybody. Disease of me. We students, we babies. So now you can't sit in a barbecue no more without defending shit with all your newfound knowledge. Just let that shit go. Let that shit go. 3 weeks ago, you was talking just like them. Let it go. You can't sit still and just let it go and be like, yep, for real. No, you can't do that? It's hard? So, disease of me. Cure that fucking disease. Get you a COVID mask. Go get you some whatever. Cure that disease. Next slide.
Entitlement. When the world isn't enough.
So, by the way, we're still in the ego. We're in the ego is the enemy book still. All over the place. So, my apologies for not having the exact, but I'm just going through every which way.
The entitlement mentality is defined as a sense of deservingness or being owed a favor when little or nothing has been done to deserve special
Okay,
treatment.
stop. Do you know anybody like this out there? Okay, I thought it was just me. Let's keep reading.
It's the you owe me attitude.
Oh. Okay. Keep going.
Entitlement is a narcissist personality trait. It does not matter what you've been through or how educated, intelligent you are.
Okay. This is a killer in our community. Killer. And we have to fix this if we want to move forward or move up the ranks in society. We have to kill this. If we move with the mentality that nobody owes us shit, it's gonna change the game. I owe you shit. Fucking owe you nothing. You breathing, ain't you? You got 2 legs and 2 arms, don't you? I owes you shit. The minute we really fully connect with that, then it changes the game for us. Changes the game for us. Like, move with the energy that they not coming. And if they come, you know how much gratitude you're going to have versus entitlement? But if you move with the energy that they not coming, that's a different strategy. The different strategy. So nobody wants to be around you if you entitled or you move. It's a black hole. It's a bottomless pit being around a person who's never happy, satisfied, have a you owe me attitude. I stay the fuck away from people like that. I don't give a fuck who they are. Men, women, children, little kids. Get out of here. Get out my way. You owe me? I don't owe you shit. You know another one? You successful, so you owe me. You successful, so wait, hold on. We came from the same hood, but you successful and I'm not, so you owe me. Well, what have you done, Nana, to give back to the community, to come back to the hood? What have you done? I'm still sitting here in the hood and you out there living good now? That ain't cool. That ain't fair. What? That's a sickness. That's a sickness. Once we all click in at the same time, not the same time, but once we all click in that they ain't coming and nobody owes us, man, it's a different ball game for us. Because now it's like, oh, what we gonna do? What's the plan? Okay, what resources you got? What about you? I got this. What can you do? What can you do? Well, I could do this. I could do that. Okay, cool. Well, then let's get different mentality. Now you ain't relying on shit. Is reparations coming or is it not? Well, it was on the ballot this week, but now it's not. Oh, well, let's rally together to get them to give us Man, come on. Once you add value, then now you're an integral part of the game. But when you're entitled in the world, nothing's good enough. Nothing's good enough. If you're a spouse or a partner and you're entitled, come on, imagine how irritating it is to be with a person like that. Nothing's good enough.
How does this value statement and not being entitled work in a networking space when no one knows who you are? Because I've been observing people the last 2 weeks in spaces with high-profile people, celebrities, famous artists, and then in smaller spaces. And I was just kind of curious, how do you demonstrate value in a very superficial context?
That's a kind of a tough and vague question. But here's the thing. You're talking about a clash of classes, right? So in a clash of classes, values and pains are completely different because perspectives are different. So the pains that a class like ours has, where black folks are at the bottom of society in in hella numbers, right? Income, homes, families together, all those things. We're at the poverty level. So the entitlement is completely unnecessary at our phase in order for us to climb the ladder. But if, say, you're in a room full of high-profile people who over time has built a foundation to where now they're at the peak of Maslow's hierarchies, they're not thinking about, they don't have the same problems that we have down here. So it may seem like entitlement to you because you down here, or someone like us is down here, but they've built their pyramid in a way to where that's their pain point is a real pain point for them.
If I could add more context and clarity. So I was at a gallery with one of the top 5 most successful fine art artists in the world. And he's just wearing a Target black shirt, Brooks shoes, and he's just old guy scratching his ass. He doesn't care about anybody. And everybody comes up to him wanting to hear something. So his value is astronomically high. And then I'm in another space with a bunch of MBA fellows, master's in business, and no one knows each other really. And they're all just sort of walking around trying to figure out who's who and and it's like a completely different situation because one is a feeder, which is the artist, and then the other one, it feels like the one's trying to eat. And I have to be successful in both spaces.
So and you're asking me, how does that correlate to entitlement?
Okay.
What does that have to do with entitlement?
Is it okay to have a healthy sense of entitlement at times to create some sort of aura? I'm being dead serious. Sometimes you have to do that.
No, and guess what? I got a slide for you coming up. So let's go next. Let's go to the next slide.
Can I ask a question?
Bang. Click, clack, bang. Am I a fortune teller or something?
A chord, sharp a chord. All right.
I mean, you know the rules of the game.
Back to the theme. Let me answer his question with this first.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's a saying in basketball, right? The ball don't lie. Y'all know what that means? Who can answer that for me? What it means? Like on the level of a Hope class intellect, what that means.
It means either you got the game or you don't. You either made the point or you didn't. Like the ball shows how you show up.
Close. Anybody else?
What you say happened, what they say happened.
Isn't it when you, like if somebody fouled and then they tried to lie and say that they did or whatever, but then when they shoot the foul shot, they miss, and it's like the ball don't lie.
Yep.
Like you felt bad about lying about the foul, so you missed.
Yeah, so taking that, so in the context of the story, to make it super simple, is there's a age-old saying in the hoop community, ball don't lie, which means if me and you have a disagreement on truth, and you lied and said that that it was a foul, but it actually wasn't, then I say, okay, shoot the ball. Because the ball don't lie. Why? Because the incongruency in your body is going to come out when you're trying to shoot the ball, and you're going to miss, which proves the ball don't lie, based on the incongruence in your body between the lie and you trying to make the shot. Right? So when it misses, see, I knew it, the ball don't lie. Now, that doesn't help if you're a good-ass free throw shooter, right? You can make it under pressure or whatever. But the saying the ball don't lie is based on the results, it's gonna come out. You're gonna get told on. Whether you posture that you didn't or not, you're gonna get told on. So to answer your question, when you're in a room full of whoever's, you have to be the best version of yourself, nothing else, because you're gonna get told on. You won't even know that you look goofy. Trying to have a sense of entitlement, you won't even know that you're not giving the right cues because you don't know what the cues are. And it will make you look worse. That's stolen valor. Stolen valor. So you have to be the best version of yourself. And guess what? People people will show up to the best version of you more than they will to a posturer anyway, because eventually you're gonna get exposed.
Just took the thunder. I was just about to say that. Usually, the person that's being the most authentic and cool is always the one that's usually ends up getting the attention that you're describing. The people that are posturing and trying to impress, they get seen through by everybody.
Come on, blood.
So if you just be yourself, not saying you, Josh, but the person that's just being themselves, being authentic, just being that thumb sticking out is usually the person that's going to get, most people will come up to and be like, hey, what's up? How you doing today?
Man, check this out. Remember, there was this thing that Nana introduced early, and I was juiced because I've never been one to do it, and I've always gone against the grain. So when you taught it, I was like, psh, do not code switch. Remember that? Don't code switch. Because code switching is trying to prove that you can speak a language that you're not comfortable with around people who are native to that language. And no matter how good you are, even if you're hella good, you're still on low ground. You're not on high ground, meaning you're not the most comfortable version of yourself. And that can get exposed versus when you are 100% confident in who you are and you bring your intelligence in with who you are and you walk in a room being who you are with that intelligence and that confidence and that comfortability of your skin, that's how you stand out. Because most of the people in that room, like Josh was talking about, is bumping around, bumping heads, trying to figure each other out, and they nervous as fuck. Nervous, trying to get to know, and you just yourself. And when they have a conversation with you, oh man, that was a good ass conversation. And I just felt good being in your space because you're the only person in here that seems comfortable. That person's hella cool. Period. Whether that's a job interview that you're looking for or a sale you're trying to make, investor you're trying to get, 100% of yourself. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Man, good to meet you. I shake hands like this. Everybody. Because that triggers me. What it does is it anchors my mind that we good. So if I ever do this, hey, how you doing? That sends a signal to me. I'm nervous. So maybe sometimes you have to do that, right? Maybe that's necessary at certain times. But when I do that, it sends a signal. Nervousness. Because my brain's saying, Court, when have you ever did some shit like this? This must be hell of important. Okay, and now it starts tripping. Because I don't never do that. So when I stopped that and I bring them in, I'm bringing them in my world. You in my world, cuz. You in my world now. It sends a signal to my brain that be comfortable. You just pull somebody into your world. Now, sometimes what happens is they lower their expectation of me, which puts me at another advantage. Because now when I whip out what I'm about to whip out and break down what I'm about to break down and show you the depth of knowledge and experience and context that I have, it creates a contrast of like, damn, what they saying is, I didn't know you was that smart. The handshake gave me the YN vibes. But your output gave me this, so that spectrum blows my mind. That's why you don't code switch.
If it's okay, I wanted to share something from a client conversation today. No names and all that stuff, but we're helping a client out with raising some capital. They're a big fund. And a lot of what you're talking about is exactly about how we're marketing the position of this client. First things first, their language has to be explicit about what they're doing, but also implicit, because it has to be congruent, right? Because all communication amongst humans is based on trust. Mm-hmm. So a huge part of our conversation today is We have to make sure your branding speaks exactly to who you are on it, explicit and an implicit level. So whether you're in the room with a funder, you're with the community, you're talking to people in city government, everybody knows who you are and you're congruent. Because if you're incongruent in your explicit and implicit language, that context or content context you were talking about, people will not fuck with you. Because they're gonna be like, you're coming off like a liar. You're incongruent. Something's off. My spider senses feel it, and that's not what you want from your brand. So we have to make sure that your language, your imagery, the way you talk in the room from top to bottom is congruent, and that's what branding and marketing is.
Go. Shakina, did you want to?
Well, there's 2 questions online.
Okay.
If it's okay. to ask.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Related to this, Ty just asked, does imposter syndrome fall anywhere in this space? And then the previous question, I was reading slides, so I saw it a bit late, is Kaja had asked, can you raise the question about services and pleasing when you're responding to direct feedback?
First of all, what up, Ty? Well, imposter syndrome does relate because posturing can sometimes be a result of imposter syndrome. But the definition most of the time of imposter syndrome is internally you don't believe you can do the job. You don't believe you're qualified enough. So imposter syndrome is you like kind of faking it, but you don't really know what you're doing. But posturing comes from the space of amplifying that to a level of it's almost I'm in denial of what I can't do, and my success is determined by how well I can fake this shit. So if I say what's going on, I'm doing big things out here. I'm killing it. I got this business over here, this business. More than one business, a real entrepreneur is automatically going to be like, I already know what's happening. Oh, you got 4 businesses right now running all successfully at the same time with 6.5 hours a day to work with? Damn, you must be Superman and Spider-Man all at the same fucking time. Like, and then you lose respect from those people, and it's hard to come back. You can come back, but it's hard to come back. And most of the time, coming back involves saying, hey, Nana, I know I told you that I could do what you're doing, but I was bullshitting. I was tripping. That's how you come back. You have to address that shit. I know that I said that I was doing big things, but I'm not. I'm fucking up. I got like $4. Hey, we good now. Let's talk. That's all. Okay, cool. Well, what's next? Like, you can come back, but it comes from addressing it. So posturing is related, but posturing is dangerous. So, I mean, and people ask me, hey, Court, how you doing? This past 6 months, I'm doing. Moving forward, sticking and moving. I'll try to stay as less as possible. Oh, man, I'm doing great. Everything is great. Fuck no, I ain't going to say that. No, I'm moving forward. But I ain't never been one to lie to kick it anyway. So posturing and imposter syndrome related, both come from a space of insecurity and not being comfortable in your skin and in your own body. Be who you are. Can't nobody be you better than you. Shit. Can't nobody be you better than you. That's why I always talk, run your own fucking race, because when you run your race as fast as you can, can't nobody fuck with you. Who can? And then the
Kaja would like for me to provide more context.
yeah, please.
So in her previous, there's a conversation going on online between her and Fern and my comment. And so she said, I feel Shakina on this one. I got distinct direct feedback from people tapped into my platform that they wanted me to do more events. They'd tell me that online and in person. So I put one together and ticket sales are slow and it's pissed me off to no end. I feel like I asked for feedback, listened to it, applied it, and I could potentially end up holding the bag.
Hey, so hats off to you, Kaja, for listening to feedback. Because getting you from not listening to feedback to listening to feedback took some good shit. But that is
She doesn't understand the difference between pleasing and serving.
okay. So just know though. Let's first just start with the knowing that's pleasing versus serving, and just knowing that that's listening to content over context. Okay, so listening to feedback is the content part. I'm hearing what people are saying. So now, yes, you there. You made it to that level of listening to feedback. So now you got to move to context. Context is, what are people really saying? What are people really asking for? What are they really feeling? Once you get good at context, then that will allow you to position yourself in a place where they're going. Content is where they are. So imagine a person's moving, right? So Kaja, imagine a person's moving. So if you meet them where they are while they're moving and hear what they're saying, that's content, right? But when you understand where they're going, you can meet them where they're going to land. That's how you make your money. So yes, it's important to listen to what they're saying, but you're listening from a lens of context. What do they mean? So if I say, how'd you like my food? And they say, it was cool. If I write that down on paper, it was cool, and showed it to everybody, what would people think? Average. What would you think?
It's probably mid.
What would you think? Now, so that's the thing. You might get average, mid, but somebody thinks the word cool means excellent. So somebody may say, it was great. You got good feedback. But if you watched them say it, and they said, it was cool.
It was cool.
It's supposed to it was cool. That's context. If I say it was cool and look away and look down, that means I'm not going to tell you the truth. That shit was trash. Right? Or it was cool. Oh, it was cool. You see what I'm saying? The same word. Or it was cool. See, context will tell you the complete different story. That's what you have to look for. So now it's time to look for context in those, because what you're saying is, I heard you, but I didn't hear you. I listened to you, but I didn't hear you. So I don't know where you're going because I didn't hear for the context. I just heard what you said. And that's step one. That's the practice. And it's not, you can't give an answer in one night. That's the practice to understand. Sorry, Tone.
Just want to add to Kaja. And man, big kudos to Kaja. We've been talking a lot, and I'm proud of her. Very proud of you, Kaja. But just like when me and Nana looked at each other when she said that. So Kaja, if you are listening, and please correct me if I'm wrong, just because people say they like something don't mean your ticket sales are going to expand. Or because it's almost like that pleasing is tied to your ego, and you got to take yourself out of it. Serving people is, like you said, it's selflessness. pleasing is being selfish. So if people are like, "Oh, Tone, your video's dope," I can't sit up there and expect 10 people to be like, "Let me get a video from you." I can't be like, "Damn, decided ain't nobody did nothing," because Court said it was dope. Why ain't nobody doing nothing? Because that's my ego. I'm thinking one person told me I was dope. All of a sudden now I should be getting flooded with business. That's not true. If you want to serve, Kaja, like Court was saying, like Nana was saying, you got to take yourself out of the equation, continue to take the feedback, but think about what the people want. How are you serving them? Don't worry about the ticket sales. Even if it's only one person at your dinner table at your event, make it the best fucking dinner you could possibly do. But if you're worried about that ticket sales going slow, that's your ego. You're trying to please people, and you're never going to be happy, because it's going to be what you say about the hype cycle. That shit goes up and down throughout business. So I just wanted to say that. Take the feedback, but don't equate that with, well, I should be doing good. I should be doing dope. Last thing I want to say is I have this saying: cool ain't good and good ain't great. Anytime somebody, short, how you like these shoes? Oh, they cool. Cool ain't good, good ain't great. Because if you really like something, you're going to be like, oh, that shit was dope. Mm-hmm. So.
I have a question in terms of like the context. Like, what's the sample size of the feedback? Because if it's like, 10 people saying like, oh, like you should have an event, like, do you move on that? Like, or do you just take it as like a point and then figure out where the strategy is later? But
you don't move on none of it. It's a funnel effect. If 1,000 people told you they loved it and they want you should sell tickets, it's called the funnel effect. Anybody who's ever been online can go online and say, and everybody like, oh, we love it. You get all these likes, loves, and everything. And then what you'll find is that when you put it on sale, you only sell 3 items. And you say, well, I had 5,000 likes. How am I only sell 3? It's because it's different between commitment, context, and actually just liking something, right? 3 is that here's where Kasha's, why I say she's pleasing, not serving. Pleasing means it's personal for her. Serving, it's not personal for me. So it's just data. So when somebody says they like my product, don't like my product, it's all data to inform me to see something about my business I can't see, whether it's good or bad. And then what I do is once I get a clue based upon the feedback, the step that she left out of the process, the step that she left off was she didn't test it. If she would just test her assumption, that test would have yielded her back in response. But what she did was she hijacked herself. The person you have to fight the hardest, it's not the outside world, it's yourself. If you guys ever see me walking around with my chest up and I got this machismo going on, and you call it toxic if you fucking want to, but that machismo is real. You know why? Because it's not because I'm fighting knocking dudes out in the streets. I got to fight my own mindset. That shit makes me like strong as fuck, because there's days, we went to the gym this morning and like I pulled something to my side, right? But there's days I get to the gym, I pull something, I feel like it, whatever. My brain cells go home so fucking good that I wish I could just publish my thoughts. You'd be like, that motherfucking brain of yours is some cold shit, right? And I gotta tell that motherfucker all the time, shut the fuck up, we're going to the gym. And then my body be like, yo, you got that little pool on the side, you probably shouldn't squat today. Shut the fuck up, I'm going to squat, right? And then I get to the workout, and then that part of my brain be like, I was kind of tight how you did that. Motherfucker, you just said, right? So the reality is that there's this distortion in our brain that's always happening that produces a level of strength. When Kaja received that feedback, she also falsely made a lot of assumptions. She projected those assumptions. It was like the person said, look, my nonprofit right now got the money, we'll sign the check, let's go, set that up. And then she went ahead and sent the tickets to them, the check came in, and then she went to the bank and the check was bad. That's all of us can fall victim to that, right? But she literally skipped hella steps because she was pleasing. That's why pleasing is dangerous. Pleasing is not just a moral call. It's a space for manipulation to happen, which comes into financial cost, right? When you pleasing, you can be pimped really fast. When you serving, you also understand that when I can't give you what I can't have, I don't have. I'm never going to put my family on the line for serving the community. Servitude means I have to also balance self, take care of myself. I'm serving you, but I'm putting the service I'm trying to provide first. But I understand in order for me to be to provide service, my system must be healthy. It's a balance to it. Pleasing is sometimes I will sacrifice my family, my friends, and everything to make sure you happy. Big fucking difference.
Yeah. Next slide. Yes, this is where I've been. This brings it home.
Clear the path for people above you, and soon it will be for yourself.
Keep going.
When you help others move forward, you're also paving your own way. Make your leaders or team job easier. Proactively solve problems. Don't wait to be asked. The trust and visibility you earn from helping others creates future opportunities. Servant leaderships always pay off in the long run.
So, again, back to the pleasing versus service. If you're serving, you're listening. You're really listening to where they're going. Where they're going with this? Where they're going with this is, what does this mean for you? You said this, but what you said, what did it mean? And I'm going to meet you there. I'm going to meet you right there for what it means to you. So if someone says, if you have to say, did you like this? Off top, the idea of you having to ask somebody and them not volunteering the information was communication. If somebody just walked out of your restaurant after they ate and didn't say anything, that's feedback. If you go to put plates away after customers left and most of the customers got hella food still on the plate, even though they didn't give you negative feedback, that's feedback. They didn't even ask for a doggy bag. Right? So there's so much invisible communication and context that happens that you got to be aware of. But if you are stuck in the disease of me, you can't even see it. You can't see the hidden feedback, the invisible stuff, the non-communicative stuff, the communicative stuff, the feelings when people say things. Where are they looking? Are they looking down, looking up, or looking you in your eye? How do they come up to you? Hey, I just had to meet you. Who did this? I just had to come and meet you, man. That shit was crazy. That was amazing. Thank you. Okay, that's feedback. That's feedback. But you have to get good at paying attention to that because that's what servants do. I realized the last 3 times you asked for this, so I had to set up for you already. Oh, man, thank you. Because I know where you're going based on your pattern. I know where you're going based on your pattern. But if you don't have a service mentality, you don't see this shit. You stuck in the disease of me, you ain't gonna see this shit. But the other thing is you're gonna be stuck. You're not gonna grow. It's gonna take, you're not gonna grow. The minute, like, we were stuck at a certain amount in our revenue, because I know we hit the same amount 2 years in a row. Fuck. I was hella more busier. I was working way harder. And I hit the same amount 2 years in a row, something's a problem. That means I'm stuck somewhere. You know how we grew? We're gonna scrub through our customer service. And we're going to be a hospitality company, specialize in being more hospitality focused, service focused, instead of A, B, and C focused, instead of giving them what they want. We're going to give them what they really want, what they need, and what they don't think they need. And we're going to spoil the shit out of them in ways that they didn't know they needed or wanted. And when COVID happened, we got to raise our prices, and everybody was lowering their prices. So understand, service is growth. If you can serve, the better, more ways you learn how to serve, the more value it changes. But it has to start with the core of you. You have to be a service because you can't give what you don't have.
Man, come on, there you go.
If it ain't in you, how can it manifest outside of you into your company? You see what I'm saying? You got to change. You got to change. How can I serve you? You got to change. Without no thing in return, how can I serve you? Next slide.
You're not as good as you think.
Oh, that's fucked up.
It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you've arrived. But confidence without humility turns into arrogance. No matter how talented you are, there is always someone better, faster, sharper, or hungrier. True strength lies in being coachable, staying curious, and treating every opportunity like you still have something to prove. Self-awareness is a skill. It's the quiet discipline of measuring yourself honestly and letting your results, not your ego, do the talking.
Are you comfortable with hearing that? You're not as good as you think? I hope everyone in this room and everyone watching it is, without going in the corner and crying. It's okay. A lot of us ain't as good as we think. Some of our shit ain't popping because we're not as good as we think. Some of our sales isn't popping because we're not as good as some of us are not making the amount of profit that we want because we're not as good as we think, which leaves room for us to get better. It leaves room for us to get better. Some of us are confused at the game we're playing, the spectrum, the capacity of the game that we're playing. Some of us just don't have a good cue on the spectrum, which means you've seen the game as a scale of 1 to 10. So you've been working hard, and now you a 9, right? Shit, you a 9? 9.5. Look, and everybody around you is like 3s and 4s, and you like, look at me, I'm a 9. I worked hella hard. I was studying when you was partying, cuz. Sorry, man. I was studying, you was partying. That's just what happens, you know what I'm saying? Shit, I don't smoke or drink. You do? Too bad for you. Then the veil uncovers and we realize it was a 0 to 100 game. And there's hella people who don't do the same shit you do. There's hella people who study and don't party. And you're like, fuck, I'm a 9, but there's hella people who are 79 and 80 and 98 and 65. Fuck. Yeah, you're going to be like sad for a second. But it never was it never was a skill problem. It was just a capacity. You didn't know that the game was that big. So now you got to work. You got to step your game up. You got to practice. You got to do what you need to do. You got to work. Not as good as you think, meaning the game is bigger. And then when you get to the edge of that 100 game, it's 1,000 because it's levels to this shit.
That's a famous phrase.
So understand ego, we never arrive. That's why we got to always move with a level of humility, confidence, but humility. Can you be humble and confident at the same time? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you're humble enough to practice and put in the work and go after it, then that will give you the confidence that you repeated this so many times. It gives you the confidence to be able to do it. I think this is the last slide. All right, let's read this and we out. But I want it's important.
Let other people get credit. It's okay. Leadership isn't about hoarding recognition. In fact, one of the most powerful things you can do is give others credit. When you uplift team members, highlight their contributions, and celebrate shared wins, you build trust, loyalty that lasts. The people who really matter notice who gives credit and who takes it. If you're secure in your value, you don't need applause. Sharing the spotlight shows maturity, confidence, and long-term thinking.
Man, we don't do this either. What about me? I got to get my credit. No, I put my thing on. And motherfuckers will fight over 50% of a grape versus let me help you shine. Let me help you shine. Let me get you got it. Like, get off your shit. Nobody's gonna steal your idea. Put your best work out in the world. If you are Robin, be the best fucking Robin you can be, and help Batman be the best Batman he can be. Your time is gonna come. And your value is gonna increase. You ain't gotta be the person in the front all the time. Let them get the credit. Let them let other people get the credit. So what? You helped out. So what? You ghost wrote that one verse. So what? That it was the start of your idea. So what? Over time, people gonna see your value because you're gonna radiate that shit. But if you caught up in the specifics of credit and this and that, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna isolate yourself again because it's back to me. So we're going to start with this slide next week because I want to go deeper, but we out.
Yeah, that was tight. That was super tight. Next, when we come back, was it next week is the last week? Is next week the last week of the month? Is next week the third?
So.
Huh?
2 more.
2 more? So we got 2 more. So next week's the last class for the month.
Yes.
Yeah, next week's the next class for the month. Then we come back the following. Next month when we come back, I'm gonna start a new book. And it's the second half of the year. The book is called Think Twice. We'll send out an email by Michael J. Mabusin. I'm gonna challenge myself, and I'm gonna need you guys' help because I'm gonna teach a level in this class that I've never taught before. 1, 2. I think I've always had a problem teaching this because everything I'm going to teach is going to be so abstract to a point that I'm going to teach you a class to show you that intelligence makes the worst mistakes. Intelligent people make the worst mistakes. That intelligence is not enough. Intelligence is an important tool, but intelligence by itself is actually a weakness. And you're going to discover real quickly that one of the reasons a lot of intelligent people never become entrepreneurs is because of their intelligence. It makes them make some of the worst bias mistakes, some of the worst thinking mistakes. I think there was the guy who started Firestone, Mr. Firestone himself said that one of the most important tools human beings could ever have is our thought, which is the ability to think. And so I'm going to get into a class about thinking. So tonight, I'm going to teach a class that's going to kind of create a bridge, the primers for the classes moving forward. I can honestly say if you miss 2 or 3 classes, it's going to get really difficult because each class is going to prep you for the next class and the next class. I can also warn you that the next few classes will not exist in popular culture. Now, if you ever meet somebody who's carrying a lot of responsibility, you'll hear the language. Once I teach it, you'll be able to hear it and be able to identify it. But if you think you're going to go to popular culture and get reinforcement for the following classes, it won't be there. This is not going to be. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you so many flaws in popular culture that it is impossible for you to be an entrepreneur and to be a member of popular culture. They're 2 different things. Now, it doesn't mean you can't exploit it. Doesn't mean you can't analyze it and figure out how to make a move in it. But popular culture and entrepreneurs are 2 different mindsets. And many of us take a lot of our cues from popular cultural sources, right? So we'll watch discussions online, from entertainers, popular people, charismatic people, even some of this opinion-based news. And it's going to move you so far if you pay attention to this stuff that they're teaching. It moves you far, 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 far away from the stuff I'm going to teach through this book called Think Twice. But those of us who are making decisions that moves a lot of resources, that has high impact, or you have to control a lot of people. I've never taught this in class, the stuff I taught in class. It's going to be very difficult for me, even tonight. Tonight's going to be a challenge for me. I don't even know how I'm going to get through this. I spent the whole week practicing how to teach this class, and I'm crossing my fingers between our engagement, our conversation. You'll help me get there. So tonight, we're going to discuss systems. Systems are crazy, crazy critical. There's this story about this fish that was swimming in the water. And the fish asked the other fish, "How's the water?" And the fish said, "What is water?" Meaning there's this thing that exists between us that's driving our connections, but we don't know how to talk about the water we exist in. That's directing all of our decisions. I made a comment at the gym to Sean. Me and Sean train on Wednesday mornings. And I said, when a person tells you they've changed, but they changed nothing in their environments, they have not changed anything. They may be a blip in their timeline, meaning that it's just an anomaly that happens real fast, but ultimately their destination is determined. You ever heard the phrase, the poor stay poor and the rich get richer? Or something like that. It's a poor paraphrase. It's because a lot of times the poor can escape their environment, their belief systems. I also went on to tell Sean, the person who escapes poverty or even success, because it can be escaped. We know a lot. We have a lot of those stories. That person must understand that when that person decides to change, if you say you really want to change yourself, it should feel like eating all the foods you don't like to eat, and you're learning to love it. It literally should feel like every day I wake up and eat all the food on you are a list of everything you do not like to eat. You are officially in a role now where if you want to change your life, you have to learn to get comfortable with the things you always hated to eat. So if you say to somebody, "I'm changing," your pattern's the same, your environment's the same, your likes the same, your desires the same, your attractions the same, what you do with your time is the same, you never change anything. And this is the most common distortion, because I think what most people are saying, and this is kind of a level of an entitlement, going back to course lesson. I want to change my economic status. I want to change my access. But I don't want to change anything else. And if you really think about it, like we saw this guy at the gym. He's a very overweight guy. And I was looking at him. I was like, oh, wow, he's pretty overweight. I said, you know what? You know what's so crazy is that fat shaming had some legitimate points. It just never, but by the time it got co-opted, it went from a deeper concept to creating a fat campaign. It's good to be fat. But if a person is overweight, it is ineffective to attack that person for being overweight. Oh my God, you're so fat. What the fuck are you doing, Mr. Balloon? That doesn't really help the person whatsoever gain any. There's no weight loss from that. No different than a lot of people who teach business to black folks and they use should, what you should be doing. It's a form of shaming. I'm going to shame you to make your life better. It doesn't work. It just makes you more depressed in your fucked up life. I said that person who's overweight across the room is victim to a story that he is telling himself. And he can't escape that story. The story might be, food gives me pleasure. Because when things were hard for me, That sandwich made me feel better. That cookie made me feel better. That whatever made me feel better. It may be that at nighttime, I had such a hard day that ice cream, which gave me a moment away from that. It might be, I ate like this when I was 20. I don't understand why I can't eat like this when I'm in my 40s or 50s. Whatever the story is, what you discover is that he or she won't escape that by going to the gym. He or she won't escape that by going on a quick, fast diet. He or she escapes that by changing the story that changes everything. But if that story remains the same, and they decide to eat something different for whatever reason, what that person will instantly discover is that the story will pull them back to the patterns, and they may even lose 40 or 50 pounds. That story will guarantee you that once the 40 or 50 pounds are gone, that story will say, okay, now that you reached your goal, ultimately this does make you happy. And you probably should just go back to your happiness. And so then the person drops the weight and then regains the weight. And then they try again, but the body at some point starts saying, I've seen that trick before, and I'm not going to lose weight that easy. And so the body starts to resist the whole pattern. But the problem is not the weight the person is suffering from. The problem is the story they're telling themselves. Now, in system science, which I'm going to introduce you guys to, like an early stage, kind of a surface introduction, but the surface is so fucking complex that I'm going to try some things I've never done before. It was this teacher, and this teacher, she had a slingy in her hand, and she held the slingy for the top and the bottom. And she released her hand, and the slinky stretched and started to bounce. And she said, why did the slinky just bounce? And the student said, because you moved your hand. She said, oh, okay. So then she grabbed the box that slinky came in. And she grabbed the box and she went like this. And the box didn't bounce. And the point was obvious that the slinky did not just move because her hand moved, but there's multiple things that went into why the slinky moved. Multiple things. So if you were to take the slinky and say, just because your hand moved, the slinky bounced, then what you would have suggested is that, okay, in life, all you need to do is move your hands and many things will bounce. False thinking, false strategy, bad approach. And the reason the strategy is flawed, did the hand move? Yes. Did it play a role? But if all you saw was the hand moving, you don't understand the dynamics of a slinky. And so in order for you to, like, if you're in business and you use these very simple anecdotal analysis, especially the analysis, here's a huge flaw. I know a guy, or watch this, I know it's true because I remember I witnessed it. It's the same anecdotal weakness. Remember I showed you in the belief system how small your experiences are? So even if you experienced it and you heard it 1,000 times, that's not facts. It's not proof that it's facts. So we're going to get into this lesson tonight where I'm going to show you 1 and 1 equals 2. Let's study the and. There's so much power and analysis in the and. Now, what is this called to before we get into it? And at any point, please stop me and ask questions. If you're confused, just formulate like, hey, I'm confused. That didn't make no fucking sense to me. Because I can get you there, but because I've never taught this, like we use it at Fight. Me and Mashama use these tools all the time. But I've never taught it because it gives us a fucking headache when we use it. You're going to discover that here's a rule, and it's going to come up in a lot. When you live in a world of probability, meaning that everything's always, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in a world of probability, that means that bad decisions can have good outcomes and good decisions can have bad outcomes. Doesn't mean your decision is good or bad. So, but for example, let's say if I say, hey, I sat down, we analyzed something, I say, hey, this is the best way to approach this idea. And we went through it, we looked at our data, we did some tests, And then when she ran the idea, Kaja, it failed. It doesn't mean the idea was bad. But where we go wrong in cultures, see, that shit was stupid because I tried what you said, it didn't work, so I'm done with it. That's a flawed form of thinking because the world is dealt with probability. I'm gonna even go another step. If you ask me about a question about something that is not, if that's foresight, so something in the future, most answers is guess what? It depends. That's the answer to most questions you can ask me. If you get me right now, everybody say, what do you think of, okay, here's my business, here's A, B, C, D, F, G, here's my challenge, what move should I make? It really depends. But yet, what do we have a desire to hear? It's this. And then do you turn me into a deity if it comes true? Or do you curse me when it goes wrong? But did I not just tell you that in a world of probability, because that's what the world is, based upon probability because the world's random, that the outcome doesn't dictate the source of the information? Is that crazy? So you can have the right approach, but you're playing a probability game. There's no such thing as every time I go through this process, it's going to give me the guaranteed outcome. It doesn't work like that because everything's always changing. And there's so many variables that are connecting to what's causing it. If we went to a slinky and we just studied the science of why a slinky bounces, and you looked at all those variables, if any of those variables shift, the slinky may do something totally different. We're in a cold area, we're in a super hot area. It's been sitting on a shelf for some amount of time. We don't know. What's the variations? Did they get hit by paint? So it depends. And why is that important? I'm trying to nudge to show you that if you don't understand your limitations, then you will make these you will act from a space of false confidence and make poor decisions and engage in poor strategy. This is an area where people who believe they're right versus wrong are absolute trash. I will never, ever, ever, ever sit in a strategy meeting with somebody who loves to be right or loves to challenge a right versus wrong, or I like to argue right versus wrong. Yet I would spend all my time with somebody who loves to argue. Did that make any sense to anybody?
Yes.
See, arguing, me and my sister was on a phone call discussing politics the other day, having a hell of a conversation. My sister's very fucking brilliant. And at one point I said to her, hey, I'm going to say something to you, but I'm not arguing with you. And she goes, no, it's okay to argue. I said, oh, wait, freeze. You got me. You got this wrong. Arguing to me is the process we go through for discovery to get to an answer I don't have. Arguing is not my attempt to protect my self-value. So if I argue with you, I have opposing information that I want to process through your argument and see if my information has strength or weakness so I can figure out what I can and cannot see. But what I am not going to do is gauge this argument assuming that I actually know what is possible because we're in a world of probability. So it all depends. So my argument is helping me see clear more possibilities and enrich my decision making. At the core of all decision making is optionality. If you ever find yourself in a conversation and you feel binary, it's either this or that, you're very elementary in that conversation. Your goal is to get to, well, I can do this, and that. The more options you have, the more power you have. Because with more options mean you have more positioning. Less options mean that you're being victimized by the decision. That's why, like for example, I was somewhere. I was arguing with what's the name that used to work with you, the Christian that works at the gym, Court. What's the brother that worked with the gym, Christian, super Christian? Bobby. Bobby was arguing religion with me.
When?
And I didn't really care about the outcome at all. So he's arguing his point of religion, and I'm smiling the whole time because I really don't care. Because once again, I didn't write the Bible. I'm not going to act like I'm the man. And at some point, Bobby asked me a question. So do you believe it's this or that? I said, Bobby, that's entrapment. I'm not going to even respond to that. Because you forced me into a binary structure. And if whatever answer I give, you structure me so you can win. The binary question is not, if you said, hey, then what could it be then? That means you're really trying to say, hey, this is what I think, but I want to hear your opinion. But you say, it's either this or that. Now, which one it going to be? That's entrapment, bro. I'm not going to respond to that, right? And I'm laughing the whole time because he didn't get mad, neither did I, and much love between the two of us. But you'll discover that there's this other space, these things that we don't see. And I was watching, this class could easily be called the Kevin Durant fallacy. Somebody said, Durant, after you left the Warriors, your everything has been a failure. And Durant says, no. I've done good everywhere I went. Oh, Durant, that's a fallacy. But I'm going to show you how that's a fallacy. So, Shakita, you ready?
Yes.
We'll jump into this. Gonna have some fun. And what we're gonna do is this is gonna be, slow me down if you need me to slow down, because this is really gonna be like one of my most difficult classes. Like, I don't know sure if I can do this well. This might just be an absolute just trash experience, and it's gonna be like, I don't know what the fuck he just said, and it's all fair. Just say some shit like, yo, Shway, what the fuck? Just hit me back and let me know. All right, y'all ready? Let's do this.
Look beyond the players to the rules of the game.
Let's go further. We won't get into that. Go ahead, let's go next slide.
You think that because you understand one, you must therefore understand two, because one and one make two. But you forget that you must also understand and.
So this is a Sufi African proverb. And I would argue that if you are passionate about any of the most popular beliefs, I don't give a shit whether it's about Black Lives Matter, the immigrants, Republicans versus Democrats, social justice, any above, you don't get this. You don't get this. If you think Trump is trash, Gavin Newsom's trash, or any of these politicians are trash, you don't get this. If you get this, you realize that's a hard comment to make. It's a lot more involved. Why is that important? Because, see, if you're just used to being a fan, sitting on the sidelines, you can judge the sport any way you want. Who gives a shit? You don't have to pay for it. But tomorrow, if you said, hey, I want to build my own NBA team, you better understand some of these dynamics. Because if you don't understand these dynamics, your ignorance will crash you. Because you're thinking about maybe basketball from a maybe highlight. And you know, there's a thing where there's a discussion about having a bag, which is all these fancy moves in basketball. And they're like, why would you have fancy moves if I'm faster than you? I just run by you, right? Save my energy, just run the fuck by you and make the move, right? But there's guys that run by you, step back, crossover, fake again, It's like, what the fuck are you doing? We're in the middle of a game. This is NBA, right? There's people who would build a sport based upon the bag. It's called N1. Ask me, did they make as much money as the NBA? Where they get it's a talent match the NBA. It's a different thing. The reality is that even when you start that sport, in order for you to build something and understand the dynamics, the complexity, and all the different layers to it, you got to see behind the curtains. The way most people talk in society, we talk as fans of the sport. We don't talk like we're in the sport. Entrepreneurs, you're in the sport. You're part. You have your own teams. You're building your own teams. But yet, you want to think about the sport like a fan. You see the gap? Huge fucking gap. I'm trying to use all these analogies to kind of help you understand, like, the way we're approaching this shit is we're approaching it from business almost like a fan of business. But you gotta learn how to think like you're in business. Are you running a business? And matter of fact, in business and running a business is two different thoughts, which you'll get into later on. That's down the road, and like the difference in the mindsets and what switches you have to flip over to be on this side versus that side. But some of you guys have this romanticism of what a business is supposed to be, and now that you're in business, you're kind of operating from that space. And let's jump to the first slide. Next slide. Let's go.
Sufi teaching story. The elements of a system are often the easiest parts to notice.
So elements of a system. Just remember that key word. So there's 3 things that make a system work. It's elements, interconnectivity, or interaction, interconnectivity, or interaction, and its purpose or function. Purpose meaning people, function meaning non-people. So if you say, what is a system? Cars on a freeway are individual cars, but a system must function different than the individual cars on the freeway. So traffic has a different personality than the individual cars on the freeway. You'll never master traffic if you only study the cars. You have to understand, this class is almost going to be like the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics and meta, right? Systems is, so there's a science of studying, like for example, most of us are reductionists. We reduce everything down to the minimal thing. Simplify as much as possible, right? And there's nothing wrong with so common sense is a tool of reduction. I use my common sense, I analyze it, I made a call. That's reduction thinking. System thinking is like macroeconomics, meaning that what was happening in the environment that was going to correct the outcome no matter what the fuck we did. So you can have a Ferrari. I can have a Volkswagen Bug. We stuck in the same traffic. You can talk all the shit about you can have $1 billion. I can be broke. We stuck in the same fucking traffic, dog. So no matter what the fuck our variations and difference of values, that bigger system is going to change the outcome of our individual actions. So the elements of the system, to start there first, is just the individual cars on the road. Right? That's the first thing we want to get into. The individual cars on the road is the weakest analysis if you have to understand systems. Right? An individual ant, if you held an individual ant in your hand, you would say, this is the dumbest fucking creature I've ever seen in my life. But the ant is one of the most resilient survival specialists in nature. And as a group, when they get together, their intelligence go to a whole different, you'll see them do things, you'll be like, how in the fuck did they figure that out? They're fucking brilliant. But the individual ant, not so much. So a lot of times when we're looking at these complex systems, America, the world, the earth, our human body, our families, our communities, our friends, there's these rules that we don't manage, and because we neglect them, we sit back and be like, why is my community so fucked up? What's happening in the streets? We couldn't even see when the system was sending us messages, this needs to be tweaked, this needs to be managed, this needs to be adjusted. And because we didn't step up into those places, we mismanaged or we neglected those systems, and now those systems are running ragged. And now it's easy now to say, now they're running ragged. You know, Court became mayor 2 years ago, and it's just raggedy. It's probably because it's Court's fault. No, it has nothing to do with Court. It had nothing to do with, was he part of the system? Was he a small percentage of it? Yeah, but he's just the element. He's not the system problem. All right, keep going, Shakina.
The elements that make up a tree are roots, trunks, branches, and leaves.
So, real quick, this is so cold. We're gonna open up. This land's so cold. When you see a tree, what do you see? That's what you see, right? You see a tree. Sometimes you might see the roots, the trunk, the branches, and the leaves. And so if you said, tell me, imagine a tree right now, that's the image that's gonna fall into your mind, right? Now let's get into system thinking. Go.
If you look more closely, you see specialized cells, vessels carrying fluid up and down, chloroplasts, and so on. The system, called a university, is made up of buildings, students, professors, administrators, libraries, books, computers, and I could go on and say what all these things are made up of. Elements do not have to be physical things. Intangibles are also elements of a system. In a university, school pride and academic prowess are two intangibles that can be very important elements of the system.
So these are all elements. If you pay attention to most of social media and when it talks about problems in society, everybody's talking about the elements. Have you Donald Trump? Fucking, LeBron. It just doesn't make any sense. Tyler Perry. This one white man here, this one black person here, this one Asian person. Oh my God, we're not talking about anything. The reason nothing's changing because we're talking about the leaves, the roots, the trunk, the branches. We're not talking about anything. Keep going.
Once you start listing the elements of a system, there is almost no end to the process.
Mm-hmm.
You can divide elements into sub-elements and then sub-sub-elements. Pretty soon, you lose sight of the system. As the saying goes, you can't see the forest for the trees.
There you go. First, before we get started, I want y'all to dig this for a second. I can get you so caught up in the elements, you can't see the system anymore. You can't see. A lot of y'all looking at business and economics, and you guys you're analyzing the elements of business. You don't see the system. A lot of y'all have jobs in corporate America, and you've been part of the elements. You don't see the system. You talk about your supervisor, school, the company pride, what things you guys do, how you guys respond. Those are elements. It's not the system. And because you understand, there's people living in America right now mad, saying America should be doing these things because they're taking the elements as the system. It's not the system. Once you understand the system, once we get to a certain point, I'm going to show you guys how cold this is. In a relationship, some of y'all measure people by elements, not the system. You look at the health of your family. If you're a parent, you look at the awards your child is bringing home. You look at the way your child dress. You look at the times that make you smile. They got to do with the system. That's the elements. You can't see the system. You can get so drunk in element talk. Pop culture, popular culture, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's the same trash. It over leverages elements. It never discusses systems. Yet we are all systems. I promise you, going back to that fat guy example, the fat guy is going to say, you know what? I'm going to stop eating this. I'm going to work out like this. Can't see the system. Can't see the system. Well, that's okay. I don't think the fat guy is my concern. I really don't care whether he stays fat or not. Maybe he wants to. Maybe that's how he wants to spend his last few years. I'm concerned for you who's trying to run a business, and then you're in your business making element decisions and can't see the system as a whole. All right, next slide. We finish that slide? Mm-hmm. Next slide.
Think about this. How to know whether you are looking at a system or just a bunch of stuff. A, can you identify parts? Mm-hmm. And B, do the parts affect each other?
So just real quick, that's a very powerful one. So when you look at something, how does the parts that you're looking at affect each other? So important. And go ahead.
C, do the parts together produce an effect that is different from the effect of each part on its own?
So if you look at the parts of something, does the individual parts come together and create a secondary effect? Mm-hmm. Now that's so much power there. Keep going.
And perhaps D, does the effect, the behavior over time, persist in a variety of circumstances?
All right, keep going. Let's go to the next slide.
Before going too far in that direction, it's a good idea to stop dissecting out elements and to start looking for the interconnections, the relationships that hold the elements together.
So. Yo, Court, you're my loved one. Why? What does that mean? What rules does that come with? What standards does that come with? And what things that can happen between us that can deteriorate that are invisible to us? I have a company. and I have a great group of employees, and they work hard. Why? What things between them employees that keeps them to collaborate together to produce an outcome? Why do they work together every day, 8 hours a day? What motivates them? What maximizes their performances? Why are they here? If you don't own that in-between space, I hear this all the time. I believe in family. Oh, what the fuck is that? What's family? Is it just a element to you? Or do you see the system? I love kids. What the fuck does that mean? Are they just an element? Look at my kid. These are my kids, man. These are my kids. Or do you understand the systems? It's a whole different conversation, and it's so fucking far apart that if you don't own that, you can cause so much damage, destruction with zero bad intent. No bad intent. You don't mean to be a bad person. You don't mean to be fucking up everything. A lot of unintentional shit will happen, and you had no idea you were the main actor. Because why? You don't understand systems. And you go through life, and if you look, you guys heard these male and female relationships and how black men and black women are supposed to be interacting with each other in their engagement. Those are the worst discussions I've ever heard because they never discussed it from a system perspective. It's always elements. She did this, they don't do this, he did this, I'm tired of black men this, I'm tired of black women this, you know black men be black women. You don't understand none of the systems. If you understood systems, this conversation would sound totally different. Even the gender discussion, I don't give a fuck because I'm a man. I don't give a fuck. This is where I stand. You cannot discount genders. Now, you can have your choices say, I don't subscribe to genders. And trust me, I have no fucking problem with that, nor do I disagree with you. But for you to say that I could just become a woman and replace you, or I could become a man and replace you, or genders don't matter, it's because that's elemental discussion. Once you get into a system discussion, you realize, all right, there's no difference between men and women. You don't. You're looking at elements. You're not looking at systems. Let's roll.
I was just having this conversation today. The interconnections in the tree systems are the physical flows and chemical reactions that govern the tree's metabolic processes.
Now pay attention to this. This is so cool. This is so dope. Pay attention to this.
The signals that allow one part to respond to what is happening in another part. For example, as the leaves lose water on a sunny day, a drop in pressure in the water-carrying vessel allows the roots to take in more water. Conversely, if the roots experience dry soil, the loss of water pressure signals to the leaves to close their pores so as to not lose even more precious water. As the days get shorter in the temperature zone, a deciduous tree puts forth chemical messages that cause nutrients to migrate out of the leaves into the trunk and roots, and that weakens the stem, allowing the leaves to fall. There even seems to be messages that cause some of the trees to make repellent chemicals or harder cell walls if just one part of the plant is attacked by insects. No one understands all the relationships that allow a tree to do what it does. The lack of knowledge is not surprising. It's easier to learn about a system's elements than about its interconnections.
Yo, okay, let me help y'all understand how powerful that was. If cats are acting up in East Oakland, it ain't got nothing, probably ain't got nothing to do with East Oakland. It could be something way over here. And if you keep pounding the problem in East Oakland, you're just compounding the problem because the problem's way over here. Right? The shit is happening in LA, that's where stuff is going wild. Ain't got nothing to do with, it may be way beyond Trump, Gavin Newsom, and the local mayor. There's other issues that were brewing that allow that space to have what's happening here, right? There's a combination of things. Anytime you look at a system, reduction thinking by itself is not enough. Trying to simplify everything to make yourself comfortable, because it's just, I'm using common sense and this is what it is. When you solve this, you see government make this mistake all the time. They see a problem and they directly attack the problem based upon the highlights of the problem, not realizing that if this happens, if there's a drought over here, the roots will have a response that will send a signal to the leaves to do this. And that change has nothing to do with the leaves just deciding, I want to do this. I'm immoral. I don't give a fuck. Or they don't care. They weren't educated. It was this over here failed, which caused this to over fail, which caused this to break down. And so if you don't fix these two over here, you can go up to the top of that leaf and replace the leaves, but another one will show up the same way again because you didn't fix the problem. You guys starting to see how system works? Is anybody confused yet? Raise your hand and say, yo, I don't see what the fuck you just said. But in the system concept, you'll understand that the way systems work is that the interconnection that we deal with as humans, the interconnections you're gonna deal with as a business, interconnection as the economic system deal, the global economics does, all that stuff is impacting you. You do not believe for 1 second that your business is just gonna fail because you did or did not do a good job. That's elemental thinking. Your business could actually fail because so many different things in the system called a trigger reaction. And because you didn't see systems, you didn't know that this trigger reaction over here means you need to change over here. And it may seem so interrelated. So for example, we'll get into this in a second. It's gonna give you some examples. Let's keep going. Next slide. Are we finished that slide?
Yes.
Next slide.
In the university system, interconnections include the standards for admission, the requirements for degrees, the examinations and grades, the budget and money flows, the gossip, and the most importantly, the communication of knowledge that is, presumably, the purpose of the whole system.
Okay, so what you talk about in your business, how you guys talk, that little small stuff you think is small, it has huge impact. This is why a lot of entrepreneurs are very disciplined. We realize that we can tip this bottle of water over here and our cell phone couldn't go out over there. You'll see there's a connection there. For pop culture, be like, what's that got to do with the goddamn cell phone? That's water. This is a phone. I don't give no goddamn sense. But when you tip the water, maybe when I tip this water, it called a chain reaction. And by taking it's a chain reaction, it causes my cell phone damage. It's literally, it's thinking in systems. When you see something happen, so for example, going back to that tree example, how many of you guys, when you saw a tree, you saw that interconnection? No one sees that. But then you say, I want to get into the tree business, and you wonder why you fail. I don't think you're going to get in the tree business and you don't see that the tree is not just the leaves, the trunk, the branches. It's a complete system. I want to get to my health. You know your health is a system, right? Your sleep. Your conversations, the movies you watch, every place you go. Remember I just said, if you say I have change and you change nothing around you, systemically, you may change, meaning that you just want to change an element in your life, not realizing that the system will because you're a complex system, the system will put it back in place. It's just going to look different, but it's going to be the same problem. So until you change everything, you're so complex that the friend you hang out with validates your fuck ups at your job. That's kind of fucked up, ain't it crazy? The movies you watch are aligned to the way you show up in your performances. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
So would you say the way having your name said to you at Starbucks and the way that makes you feel is part of the interconnectedness? That like the elements are employees, building, coffee.
That's
people.
actually, I'll get into that in a minute. That's part of my slides. Good call. That's actually not that far off. It's pretty close. It's really close. That's actually really close. That's good analysis. By the way, Josh, appreciate you, man. You wasn't here last week. For those of you online, we love us some goddamn Josh. We may talk bad about him, but the boy's professional. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Shakina.
You ain't shit, but we love you.
That's right. Show you right. Go ahead.
Some interconnections in systems are actual physical flows, such as the water in the tree's trunk or the students progressing through a university. Many interconnections are flows of information, signals that go to decision points or action points within a system.
So, by the way, you're at your office and two employees don't like each other. And they're creating this funky energy in the office. It's dangerous. Let's say you have an employee that won't show up in the office every day and they really don't want to be there. And they kind of like just pout, don't talk to people. That's dangerous to your system. It's dangerous. Let's keep going. I'll keep going. This is going to get good. Keep going.
These kinds of interconnections are often harder to see, but the system reveals them to those who take the time to look.
Pause. You have to take time to look. Meaning that you're going to have to get past this superficial common sense. Common sense still has its place. I'm not telling you it's not either or. You got to add systems thinking to your common sense. This is not an anti-common sense. It's not anti-reductionism because reductionism does work in certain cases. This is when you're running a company, running a business, or analyzing market, or even analyzing other businesses. If you can't see the system, you don't see anything. This is again, Steve Jobs is an element. If you can't see the system, you can't recreate Apple. Fuck all this. Oh, I studied AG, Steve Jobs, and he said this and he did this. You know nothing.
Nothing.
If you didn't see the systems that was in place, that was ran by Apple to build that product, you just created a deity in your fucking brain. You don't have nothing else. All right? Let's go.
Students may use informal information about the likelihood of receiving a good grade to decide which courses to take.
Mm-hmm.
A consumer decides what to buy using information about their income, savings, credit ratings, stock of goods at home, prices, and the availability of goods for purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Governments need information about kinds and quantities of water pollution before they can create sensible regulations to reduce that pollution. Note that information about the existence of a problem may be necessary, but not sufficient to trigger action. Information about resources, incentives, and consequences is necessary too.
So, a couple things. When the language and the way people talk, that's the interconnection, right? The rules of your business is part of your business interconnection. This is very important. So changing the rules, if somebody comes to your business and change the rules, they can change your whole fucking business. Mm-hmm. It's that fucking serious. When Trump says law and order is very important, there's one area he's absolutely right. If you let law and order shift, you could destroy an economic system over fucking night. Because those systems that were designed for this form of communication, right? Imagine you're on a freeway and every time you hit a different corner, the speed limits change. I don't want to be on that freeway. What if the rules change on how you change lanes and somebody says you blink, somebody says you don't blink? What if somebody says cut people off, somebody said don't cut people off? Right? So those rules, that data is necessary for that system to work. It has to have a group of rules that system follows for that system to actually birth itself and work. Next slide.
If information-based relationships are hard to discern, function or purposes are even more challenging.
Oh, this is where it gets crazy. Go ahead.
A system's function or purpose is not necessarily spoken, written, or expressed explicitly, except through the operations of the system.
This right here is straight game. Go.
The best way to deduce the system's purpose is to watch it for a while to see how the system behaves.
Okay, first, let's just take that phrase right there. If you want to understand any system that you're trying to understand, I'm talking about even somebody who says, I'm doing big things, or do you want to buy this product, or I sell real estate. If a lot is at odds, just watch it. If you went to a car dealership and just sat there at the car dealership, you want to go negotiate your car and say, I'm just going to sit here, I'm thinking about something, give me a few minutes, and just watch the salesman, you'll see the game. Well, what happens often is you don't sit there long enough to watch the game. You don't watch the purpose of a salesperson. What happens is you just jump in right away, looking at the elements. I see the car. I see this guy in front of me wants to sell me a car. I believe. And then you project on, you create your own story. And you don't realize that if you just sat there and just watch. I mean, a long time ago, this was when Shakina was like 22, 23. And a dude walked up to her because she was just thinking about getting into training, right? She had just lost all of her weight. And she seemed about getting into training. And this dude was at the gym all the time, training people, all the time. talking about Jesus and God, training people all the time.
I know.
So he walks into Shekina and he says, yeah, I'm sitting right there. He goes, I got 4 gyms. I'd like you to come over to my gym one day because I'm looking for some trainers. He walked away. I said, he ain't got no motherfucking gym. She's like, well, but maybe he does. I'm watching him. If he had a gym, he wouldn't be here all the time.
All day.
All day. For you, who paying the rent? What's going on? Right? But this happens all the time. When people say, I'm selling this item or I'm part of this thing, just watch them. Let's get into this real quick. I'll show you this how cool this is. Next one. Same slide. Next paragraph.
If a frog turns right and catches a fly, and then turns left and catches a fly, and then turns around backwards and catches a fly, the purpose of the frog has to do not with turning left or right or backwards, but with catching flies.
When you understand what the main purpose, even your own business, this is a struggle. If you want to understand where most of us, what's the purpose of that tree? Not only how's the tree communicating, and not only the elements of a tree, what's the purpose of this tree? If you don't know the purpose, you don't know if it's dangerous or not. You don't know what's going. Some of you guys are running businesses based upon you're projecting what you want to do, but you're not looking at what you do. And because you're not looking at what you do, when you create your culture is confused as fuck. You say this, but this is how we show up. I care about the environment, but you keep throwing trash at the car. I don't understand the fuck's happening here. If I keep watching you throw trash at the car, I don't give a fuck what's coming out your mouth. You don't give a fuck about the environment. What you do care about more is yourself. You know, most leaders, most activist leaders are self-centered. They don't care about people. They just use the people to drive their own argument. That's what Court was alluding to earlier. So the reality is that you got to understand that we get confused by the rhetoric as opposed to understanding the purpose. What's the purpose of the American government? What's the purpose of business? What's the purpose of legal systems? What's the purpose of Google? So when they use all that rhetoric, you be like, oh no, this is what they stand for. No, they don't. This is their purpose. I don't give a fuck what that commercial said. Their purpose is this. I go to Apple, I buy computers. I don't buy those commercials. At the end of the day, Apple's here to sell you computers. I'll sell you cell phones. I'll sell you technology. They can tell you all the stories about you're being a revolutionist. You're innovators. Creativity and you just everything you ever want to be when you touch one of our computers. They're here to sell you computers, dog. If you're not clear about that, then quite often, this is how many of us are manipulated by everything around us. Because we're not clear on what is people's purpose, nor are we clear about our own. Go ahead.
So this is coming off the top of my brain and not prepared, so I might fumble through this. But when you said that, it made me think back to a previous class when we were talking about who we are and who we aren't as a business. So for example, you're like Shekina, you're not a trainer, you're a marketer. Like you're in the business of people. And for example, like my business, like I own a gym. So the purpose, I guess, of a gym is to sell training and recovery services, like if you just simplify it. But then when I think about marketing my business, you're going to assume that, you know, we're selling training and marketing services, but like our overarching message is that we're there to drive community so that people can have the end result of longevity and health. So like I guess I'm having a problem discerning like the difference between the two, or is there a difference?
No. If I challenge your purpose, I'm challenging your actions. So if I watch you every day and you say, I'm in the community, and I say, oh, cool. Do you understand what that is? Like, do you understand the history of how to build communities? What's your formula for building communities? What's your strategy? And if it's on some, well, I think this would work, then that's not what you are. But if you said, I'm in the communities and then I see your actions aligning and I see you operating, I'm like, wow, you do this community shit really well. That's your purpose. That's alignment. Your staff understand, your employees understand, your customers understand that. The problem is that we say these things to rhetoric and then we wonder why it falls flat on our customers' ears because our actions and our purpose are out of alignment. Right? Because we fall victim to our own rhetoric. I'm going to build a very progressive space. And it's just conservative. It's not progressive. Right? You're like, don't change this. Don't touch this. No, I'm being progressive, but don't fuck with that. I'm very offensive. Don't ask me no stupid ass questions no more. Okay, come on, dog. I swear to God. Own your shit. Find out what you do own. And then you could make that announcement. But once you start saying, I own these things, but you didn't design nothing. I believe in professionalism. And our toilets don't work yet. No, and then we ain't got no pens in here. No, paper. Lisa, run out the car and get some paper for us real quick. But as a professional organization, this is a distortion that we have in our brains when we're analyzing ourselves and others. This is the system thinking this is like as I'm hitting the surface, I'm gonna go further and as I go further and further and further, you're gonna see how fucking important this is. But it's almost understanding the water we're swimming in. And even when we say these things, so for example, a sand has elements, but a sand is not a system because it doesn't have an interconnection or communication. It's just sand, right? A sand doesn't sit around and go, our function, it doesn't have a clear function. It's just sand. It's called chaos. But a system, it's just, okay, this is rule that says the world's a mess and building a business inside it, it's just going to be a mess. That's it. You don't get to be, like when you run a system, you're dealing with the complexity all the time. Trying to always simplifying things at certain times are necessary, right? Because we're making fast decisions, we're moving. But when we step back, you got to be able to see the system. Because that allows you to sit down and go, what are we doing wrong here? Otherwise, you could be so caught up in your reductionism and you measure yourself by that, you can't see the inconsistencies because of the rhetoric, the distortions, you're not looking close enough. Keep going. The same paragraph. Go ahead, Scott.
I got a question around purpose and framing. So we have a marketing company. The purpose of the system, not just, the delivery of the products, the way that we talk, but the space, everything is setting framing, right? That system's whole point is we are controlling and setting the framing for our clients. So it's like the water, right? You're saying some people don't even know about the water. We understand the water. We're also changing the water for our clients, right? So that we can invite them into a new space of possibilities. Is that right? Does that fit into this system? As far as 510 Media as a system, the purpose of the system is to set the frame so that the clients can move into a different frame space themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's we own that path. And so as we move, like even when I design an office, I'm influencing those things, right? I'm shaping the customer's mindset when they walk in. Even to be a black company and have, like, people think that being a black company means sub product. Even though we don't say it, we kind of assume that. And what I'm always trying to do is say, hey, let's break those assumptions, which allows us room now to, if I can break those assumptions, I can get you to question assumptions. I get you to question assumptions. That means I'm priming you to have a great conversation with me. But if I let you walk in there and I feed all your assumptions, I'm literally just validating your locked system, your locked way of thinking, right? And I'm trying to automatically, when you walk in my office, rattle that foundation, right? Even we do certain things where we go through this process of, here's the problem, which is create the friction, and then relieve the friction, right? I'm hacking human behavior to help you understand opportunities to change the water.
It's almost like a game, right? It's in all interactions, one system or the other system is setting the frame, right? So it's either I exist in your frame or you exist in my frame. If I don't understand which frame I'm in, I'm probably in your frame, and that's what we're doing right.
Absolutely. Keep going.
If a government proclaims its interest in protecting the environment but allocates little money or effort towards the goal, environmental protection is not, in fact, the government's purpose.
So pretty much you can see a lot of times like the government should be doing this. I'm thinking, where'd you get that from? If you look at the government, it tells you what it's supposed to be doing. All right? And so then a lot of the stuff you hear in society is rhetoric where we're projecting on what, in a relationship, a woman should be doing this. Where you get that from? She told you what she was going to do from day one. We was at the gym also, and there's these very pretty women that were training across from us. And I said, damn, they don't know they're communicating. I said, what do you mean? Their eyelashes were super long, their nails were super long, their hair was super, I don't know, something. Very pretty women, but you can see they were over-invested in their beauty, right? I said, what do you think to a man who's building, what do you think you're signaling? You're not signaling to that man, hey, let's get together and build one day. You're signaling to that man, hey, let's play. And that's cool, but I don't think that's what you, some women may want that, and that's cool. I'm not against women who want that, you understand me? But,
I mean, you know the rules of the game.
you understand me? Look at play, I didn't write them. But, but I feel sorry for her if she doesn't know that's the signal she's sending. Now, if I was to tell her that, of course, she would reject me by saying, oh my God, you are sexist, masculine, whatever. They call me some shit. That's why I don't say shit. Fuck it. But the reality is that we don't understand that somebody looks beyond our branches and sees our trees. And they see the decisions we're making by the way we show up that day. And we wonder when people say, I'm picking you to be on this team, that you had already forfeited your game. But you can't see that. Because in your mind, you're thinking, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want to do. But we're all interconnected. We're part of a system. We don't get to... Your rebellion is a system. It's not... You're not just rebelling and going, I don't give a fucking... No, your rebellion is an anomaly of the system. And I told my goddaughter this morning. I said, hey, she thought I said, let's go work out. And so she passed out on me.
No.
She always dies when you ask her something she don't want to do. Right? So I asked her, I said, let me just share this with you. And I said, my younger daughter, she's 6, and she had ran Joaquin Miller stairs 4 times without stopping. She did 10 laps this Sunday with Shakina around a track which is 2.5 miles. And she's working on doing a 3 mile. She's 6. And I said, one of the things I discovered, I'm going to keep it really simple for you. Those who live at the top have top life experiences. And those who live at the bottom have low life experiences. It's that fucking simple. Mm-hmm. Those who live at the top, they have a different relationship with friction. They're always testing themselves. They're always pushing themselves. They're not worrying about fairness as much. They're driving. They see where they want to go. They accept this is part of the game. Those of us who are like at the bottom, we're talking about fairness and abuse and there's not this and the rules should change. And I don't like none of this shit. And I think men and women are just stupid. And I think the world's stupid. And I almost want to kill myself. You have experiences in your life goes along with that. And I explained to her, I said, it's important. The reason I'm training my daughter gets up in the morning. First of all, my daughter wrote out her daily schedule to me today. She came and said, Dad, this is my daily schedule. You think I'm going to change? I said, Are you seriously doing this? This is fucking funny. And she had her snacks in there, her dessert in there. It's like, who are you? But her first thing she gets up and she does in the morning, she does her math work. And now she added writing. Then she wants to train with me and her mother. Which one of y'all training? What are we doing? If we can't, I want to get out and do some exercising. Right? It's like, why? And I'm like, she's only 6. Why am I training her early to kind of frame her mind like that? Because that's the lifestyle of a high performer, where they make that shit normal. It's not. They don't say, I gotta work out. Oh, this shit's working out and reading all the time. This is a lot of shit going on in my life. Shit, then I gotta eat clean. God damn, you just trying to steal my whole universe, right? That, to those who are high performers, that's just what they do. It's just, that's their foundation. They don't know anything different. And so, this is gang. Keep going. Next slide.
Can I ask a question to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, I could talk on this because I'm Gabby's mom. So when Gabby was younger, she was just like Zeeley. It's like, always wanted to do, her favorite number is 44. Wanted to do 44 push-ups, 44 sit-ups, read all the time, do all the things. And then teenagehood happened. And brain chemistry changed. And I think I struggled because I'm recollecting the young girl that wanted to do all of the things that was super driven. And then the empathy side of me is trying to create space for her to have her transitions, feelings, and everything like that. But then the visionary in me is realizing how important it is to still hold those values even in discomfort. And I kind of sometimes just get lost in not knowing which side to show up to. Could you speak to that, like, as somebody that is trying to look at the system? So for example, being a parent is a system. You go out, you get pregnant, you have this child, and there's all these stages in this child's life, from before they even come onto the planet to their first day, their first year, their schools, their friends, their entire ecosystem is a system. But we get caught up on the elements like, what are they doing? How is their hair? Whatever, just stupid little.
It shouldn't be just. It should be devalued. It's just not enough.
Well, just not significant enough to get caught up on to
you can't make it everything.
Pour all the
right.
energy
I don't want my daughter going to the house with her hair looking like trash.
We know.
And I don't want my daughter wearing of homeless gear, right? Unless that's the fashion. Like, unless Kanye West have taken over fashion, we're wearing homeless clothes. But I don't want that shit, right? But it doesn't. But that is not. I think it was the brother Muhammad, one of the Nation of Islam brothers, was saying that we raise our kids to play sports. It's everything for them. Or a lot of white parents will raise their kids to play sports to give them the principles from sports so they can go on through life with those principles, right? So it's all contextual. But so what's the question? I want to make sure I got this question correct.
My question is, how do we not over leverage paying attention to the elements when, like, raising kids over recognizing the system because of the phases of that?
So go back to what this just said. We got to look closely. That little one phrase was the most powerful phrase. Most of us never look closely at anything. We're blocked because of our ego. It's not, and I don't want to make this like, it's not judgmental. First of all, children is an act of probability. You could do everything right, it's probability. Meaning that you could do everything wrong and they turn out to be right. You do everything right and they turn out to be wrong, right? So it's not a reward for your actions. Children are not a reward for our actions. Two, a lot of this stuff depends, right? There's a thing where, to your point, they got the teenage brain, teenage pressure, chemicals going through their body. But there's an old phrase that says, "Train them up right in the way they make, and they will somehow return back." Yeah, some Pastor Chris fix it. Point is this: anytime it's something with the Bible, I'll be like, "Pastor Chris, help me." That's why it's good to have a pastor as your brother. But the thing is that in your process of raising a child, because I think with a child, it's one, you got to have as much ownership as possible to play the long game. That's the only thing I'm answering to. But how do you make sure she benefits from that? It gets back to that answer I gave you earlier. It depends. She's that complex. It depends. I will say, what saves a child more than anything is not a single parent. It's the environment we put them in. A single parent by themselves, you can be a righteous mother. How many mothers have cried who were good mothers in the hood? Right? They did everything they could, and their daughter and son went out there and things went wrong. Right? And so this is why family matters. And good family matters. Not just family, But you got to understand what is family. You got to be clear about. We got to own. You got to step into that. Some of us want family just to be people who just accept us for the fuck we want to do. And then there's other thing that says family is a group of rules, and those rules help us all move forward. Those rules come from years of wisdom, not individual superiority. I think that's where it goes wrong. And I think today we've really lost. When you ask a lot of people, what define family? What does it mean? What's a healthy family? What tweaks should we be making to a family? Now, mind you, just how she said, when you look at a tree, it's so many complexities, things are happening that it's hard for your brain to hold all that complexity. You're not going to be able to hold the whole system in your mind. It's not meant for you to just completely own. It's meant for you to humble yourself too. That's the trick. If you go into a strategy meeting and you're forceful, I'm like, okay, so you don't understand strategy. Strategy is absolutely a discovery. And there's a humility that has to go along with that process. All right, next slide? Are we finished that one? Last slide.
One
Go
more
ahead, go ahead.
sentence. Purposes are deduced from behavior, not from rhetoric or stated goals.
Oh, purpose are deduced from behavior. Meaning that if you want to understand the purpose of anybody around you, your purpose, you want to fuck your rhetoric. I'm going to just keep it like East Oakland. Fuck your rhetoric. Fuck your rhetoric. I don't give a fuck. When a salesperson talking to you, what is their purpose? To sell you the car at the highest possible price. Everything else they tell you, fuck it. I remember this one time I was sitting in front of a sales guy. He's like, yeah, I'm working. This is the last car. And, as a family man, I haven't made no money today. And I say, my man, I really don't give a fuck. This is the number I want to offer. And let's see. like, I don't give a fuck. Like, dude, I'm looking at your purpose. I don't give a fuck about your rhetoric. That's why I seem like an asshole a lot of times when I look at people, because I'm watching your behavior. Actions speak louder. Grandma used to say, actions speak louder than words. And your action told me everything the fuck I need to say. And then you start opening your mouth saying some other shit. You move like dirt and you talking about flowers. You dirt. I don't hear this shit. I make it a little simpler. Keep next slide.
A note on language. The words function and purpose are generally used to describe a non-human system and a human one, respectively, but the distinction is not absolute, since many systems have both human and non-human elements. The functions of a thermostat furnace system is to keep a building at a given temperature. One function of a plant is to bear seeds and to create more plants. One purpose of a national economy is, judging from its behavior, to keep growing larger. An essential function of almost every system is to ensure its own perpetuation.
Now, I'm going to talk about something, but I don't have. It's too complex. I don't have. I don't on one side. Don't try to turn whatever I say to enhance your political position. But if you understand function and purpose, it helps you see long-term output of a certain action. Remember, a long time ago, I said if a person was to come to the borders, say a Canadian came to the borders, and she says, "I'm poor, let me in." You have to ask yourself, what's their function? What would be her child's purpose? What's her purpose, and what will be her child's purpose? And how does the human brain work in these situations? Not what they say, not what the media tells you, not what a movie makes you feel. You got to be able to see that next level. If you don't see that next level, then you're making a decision based upon, you're really projecting a story more than you're reading the situation. You hear what I just said? Like, hey, let's do business together. Why? If your purpose is, you can't tell me why, I got to look at how you move. It might just be to make some money. It might be for status. It might be for passion. I don't know, but I have to watch you. But what you say, I don't listen so much. That's when you understand complex systems, you're looking at the world around you, you're like, oh, the world government. Okay, let's look at what's their purpose? Everything else, all the Illuminati. Okay, what's their purpose? They should know what's their purpose. Once you're very clear on their purpose, everything makes sense. It's when you get caught up with the rhetoric, you start making false judgments and false decisions. That's the danger. Keep going. It's next slide, right?
Yeah, next slide.
Next slide. Okay, here we go.
System purposes.
Now, mind you, this is a lot of content, but I'm getting somewhere. So just stay with me, and I have to kind of like enrich this conversation. Go ahead.
System purposes need to be human purposes and are not necessarily those intended by any single actor within the system.
So a lot of times a system can behave that's unintentional. This is the most important part. A lot of our individual behavior in a system can be unintentional. That's with your business, that's with your family, that's with your friends, that's with society, that's with everything. Conspiracy culture is the lack of the identified system. System can give you something that looks like it was intentional, it was planned, it was structured. It's the nature of the system. The system has a separate behavior than the individual actors within the system. That means you can make a plan on your business and then realize that when it gets into the public, it's totally gamified because the system had a whole different purpose. I'm looking at your system. Go, let's keep going.
In fact, one of the most frustrating aspects of systems
This is so cold.
is that the purposes of subunits may add up to an overall behavior that no one wants.
So you can build a perfect idea. This is for nonprofits. This is for government. This is for anybody that's dealing with the public. This is somebody with a big staff, group of staff of people. You can start an idea with the best intentions. Don't ever think your intentions is the strategy. This is a lot of people we meet with will argue what their intent was. I don't give a fuck. You got to understand that once it gets into the system, a subsystem engage your idea, your structure, your process, your policy, your gift, your resources, and something else happened that you didn't intend. Keep going.
No one intends to produce a society with rampant drug addictions and crime, but consider the combined purposes and consequent actions of the actors involved.
Now watch this. This all contributes to drugs. Tell me this shit ain't cold. This all contributes to drugs. Keep going.
Desperate people who want quick relief from psychological pain.
Mm-hmm.
Farmers, dealers, and bankers who want to earn money.
Mm-hmm.
Pushers who are less bound by civil law than are the police who oppose them.
Mm-hmm.
Governments that make harmful substances illegal and use police power to interdict them.
Mm-hmm.
Wealthy people living in close proximity to poor people.
Wait, you said wealthy people living in close proximity has to do with a drug problem to poor people? They don't buy drugs. Come on, this is some cold shit. Keep going, keep going.
Non-addicts who are more interested in protecting themselves than encouraging recovery of addicts.
Mm-hmm.
Altogether, these make up a system from which it is extremely difficult to eradicate drug addictions and crime.
So if I go to the person who's addicted and says, yo, you just need to stop doing drugs, and I don't look at all the things that's influencing them all the way down to rich people living close to us. Is that shit go? Or a farmer you've never met who's like, yo, I just need to get some extra money in this house. My money's not coming in. Or the government creating a policy that was so disconnected. Unintended consequences happen from systems. So a lot of times, like keep going. Next slide.
Systems can be nested within systems. Therefore, there can be multiple purposes within a single purpose.
So there can be multiple purposes within a single purpose. This is important because when you hire employees, they can have different purposes. And then when they go home, which has a that purpose is connected to a different purpose at home and in their community. So all that's part of the purpose of what that person is showing up in your space, and does that align with your purpose? Keep going.
The purpose of a university is to discover and persevere knowledge and pass it on to new generations. Within the university, the purpose of a student may be to get good grades. The purpose of a professor may be to get tenure, and the purpose of an administrator may be to balance the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those sub-purposes could come into conflict with the overall purpose. The student could cheat, the professor could prioritize publishing papers over students, or the administrator could balance the budget by firing professors. Maintaining harmony between sub-purposes and overall system purposes is an essential function of successful systems.
So, Matt, how many of y'all has been in environments fucked up? Like, for example, have you ever worked at a fucked up fast food, or when you were at your first job and it was chaos, or a hood business? And what made it a hood business wasn't because it was in the hood. It's because you had multiple purposes within the same purpose. So you had a guy taking the money, and their purpose was to give their friends hook up and take some money out the cash register, right? And keep their job and get the paycheck, right? Another person's cooking the food is just get through my time because I really don't give a fuck because everybody has different purposes. No one's attending to the business. Now you go to a business, let's say McDonald's, say you worked at McDonald's in the hood, and you can almost feel the difference, right? The floors are dirty, the bathrooms are dirty, because the purpose is different, right? Go to a McDonald's where they bought into the story, and you'd be like, this motherfucker clean this, damn, the food fresh, damn, this service is different. That's when the purposes change. Now, here's the thing, go back to elements. You can fire one person in your staff in the hood. That's not the problem. It's not the problem. You can fire 5 of them. It's still not the problem. Until you fix that purpose problem, all the shit you're doing, it feels like whack-a-mole. You're not going to solve the problem. The way you solve the fucking problem is you're going to have to fix the interconnection, the purpose, clarity, how you signaling the curve. The whole ecosystem has to signal something totally different. It's a whole different way of thinking because it's so easy to be like, yo, he don't give a shit. That's why I fired him. Yeah, the next guys don't give a shit either. Because once they get in that role, that environment signaling to them, you don't care, they don't care, the system doesn't care. This shit is crazy, this happening. Hey, you guys worked in fucked up environments before, like this shit is crazy here, right? And then what happens to your morale after a while? You stop giving a fuck, you start protecting who? Yourself. So then you shift your purpose from I care about this job I have to I care about who? Myself. The person who wants to solve that better not talk about firing the wilding out dude. It's a bigger problem. Go ahead, Josh.
So, like, when it comes to interconnectedness and purpose, say, like, answering emails is an element of customer service, but the intangible part is how fast do you answer it and how thoughtful is your reply?
And also your purpose, we care about our customers for real. Like, at the end of the day, let's make sure our customers don't have too much uncertainty, right? You got to have these deeper messages, and as you plug those things in, and as you drive those to the culture, and even your top leadership, if they haven't brought into your purpose, your top leadership can create a coup on your business. Even though they're with your business, you getting paid, they will create a coup because at the end of the day, they're in their brain, they're thinking, well, the purpose is not clear, and I've been here every day, and I'm really driving my purpose, which making you some money, and then one day you'll come in like, no, but we're going this way. They don't care about which way you're going. They care about their purpose over your purpose. Even though your purpose may be aligned with serving the customer, they're focusing on the purpose that keeps their job. So you have different interests. Go ahead.
We actually had a client like that. They had several different sections of their business, and the leadership in each section had a different purpose and a different idea of what the business was. And they didn't even know it was fucking up the whole business. We had to go in there and clean it up and be like, hey man, you guys need one thing, and every system's leadership has to be aimed for this one thing.
And that cost is high.
Yeah.
When you go back and look at your books, you're like, we spent how much? Because we didn't line? Are you fucking serious? Keep going.
You can understand the relative importance of systems elements, interconnections, and purpose by imagining them changed one by one. Changing elements usually has the least effect on the system.
This is important. So changing elements has the least effect on the system. Go ahead.
If you change all the players on a football team, it is still recognizably a football team.
So yeah, you change all the players you want. You're like, yeah, I'm getting rid of this. So this is so important. Have you ever seen somebody go, if we lose this one guy, we're going to fall? No, you won't. If the system's strong, it can weather that change. It's still going to be that kind of business. Well, not saying the element can't. Now, element can have effect. Tom Brady does have effect on a certain team, but he's not football. He's not football. Not saying that you don't analyze Tom Brady and have a Tom Brady strategy, but understand that Tom Brady's not football. Football's going to be all right. Right? Now, if football starts to collapse, it's not because Tom Brady did or did not play. It's because the system itself was not clear on this. The NBA was able to survive after Jordan because the NBA was able to enhance this. Jordan helped them see a new purpose, a new way to position himself. And then they use that same form of positioning. Even to this day, is the Jordan positioning. And they continue to enhance it. But the reality is that the NBA realizes that it's a system and the elements can change, and that's not an excuse for the system failure. Keep going.
It may play much better or much worse. Particular elements in a system can indeed be important. A tree changes its cells constantly, its leaves every year or so, but it's still essentially the same tree.
Yeah, so same thing. Yeah. Tree changes, all the cells, everything changes, but it's still the same damn tree. Go ahead.
Your body replaces most of its cells every few weeks, but it goes on being your body. The university has a constant flow of students and a slower flow of professors and administrators, but it is still a university. In fact, it is still the same university, distinct in subtle ways from others, just as General Motors and the U.S. Congress somehow maintain their identities even though all their members change. A system generally goes on being itself, changing only slowly, if at all, even with complete substitutions of its elements, as long as the interconnections and purposes remain intact.
The purpose and interconnections, if you're not sure what that is for your business, you don't understand what kind of business you have. Because that's the part of your business that can run without you. If you decide one day you want to go from working in your business to working on your business, if you don't understand the interconnection and the purpose, you're stuck. You're stuck. Because once you understand that, you didn't know how to move players around, position stuff, design stuff. It's almost very clear. But if the business is still, but if you're not clear about that, then you will see your business through your efforts. That's the flaw. Once you build something that's running and is making money and is growing and expanding, it's a system. But a lot of times, because we can't identify what is a system, we don't know how to engage it. We don't know how to manage it. We don't know how to drive it. We don't know how to see when it's sick or when it's healthy. We don't know when it's changing. We don't know when we have a flaw, because we will get caught up in small elemental discussions that have nothing to do with nothing, when really this is a problem here, or this is not a problem, or this is a sign of growth. So in the day, if you don't understand that, or we'll think about one of the elements, which is, I'm the best cook in this restaurant. That's an element. That's an element. Have you guys been to these famous chef restaurants? Are the chefs ever there? They're never there. These top of line Wolfgang Puck, he's never there. Yeah, I've been in restaurants. He'll be like, "Yo, I just made this shit for you. Now I'm going to go over here to Las Vegas when we'll fly in a plane, make some plates for them too." No, they transferred a system that was driven by them. Your business is a system created by you. That's so important to know this, because if you don't get this shit, it's really easy to start to replace the system with elements in the system, which is, my system is this employee here. The system is me. The system is this computer. The system is this car. The system is this particular product. This shirt. This system is these shoes. No, that's not the system. Code. It's not the system. Go ahead.
Code.
Huh?
So going back to the Mavericks Luka trade, would you say that his behavior changed the way other players interacted with? That's
the what I said earlier, the Kevin Durant fallacy, which is your greatness of your game is not. No teams will prevail if you got a whole bunch of great players who don't understand their connection. Because what makes your team greater than the individual? Kevin Durant is by far one of the top most talented players of all time. He is not a great basketball player. And that hurts, but that's true. Because why I say that is because if you're a great player of the game, you realize you impact the game. So let's say, what made LeBron so fucking amazing? He's the greatest since Jordan. You understand me? Sydney, you enough of this Jordan shit. I mean, enough of this LeBron shit. But anyway, sorry for audience. No, this is between me and Sydney. Okay, anyway. So anyway, here, LeBron is amazing because one thing made LeBron so amazing, whatever team he went to, they got better. That makes him an amazing basketball player. Now, doesn't mean where amazing talent is two different conversations. Kevin Durant is amazing talent. He's not an amazing basketball player. Because amazing basketball player is not about I did what I was supposed to do. It was how much did you raise the tide of the team? And if the team didn't get better because you're there, what's the difference between him being a great player on the team and somebody who's a hog who fucks up the team? Yeah, I remember when Jordan Poole at one point thought it was all about him and he was hurting teams. Now, I think Jordan Poole's gotten better, but at one point you saw his ego kind of driving his game. Well, what's the difference between him, the way he's playing? Like, yeah, in the end, they may have different reasons, but in the system, it's the same effect. So it doesn't work. And so that's why I call it, what's the same effect? Keep going. Let's keep going. Same slide?
No, next.
Next slide.
Changes in function or purpose also can be drastic.
There you go. Come on.
What if you keep the players and the rules but change the purpose?
Now, wait. Listen to what he just said. What if you keep the players and the rules but change the purpose? Watch this. Go ahead.
From winning to losing.
So what if basketball is no longer about winning, it's about losing? Is it still basketball? No. You just change the purpose. So when your purpose is changing, okay, when I first got into a Tesla, I said, oh, Tesla changed the purpose. What was the purpose of a car traditionally? It was a form of transportation, right? Tesla started making a phone that happened to drive as opposed to a car that happens to be a phone. That's a switch of purpose. That cars a different market angle because no longer am I looking at Tesla as just, that means that also too, I don't want to keep this old phone for long. Right? Because technology, we don't want to keep technology. Nobody says, yo, man, I got this 20-year-old computer. I love that shit. Right? Because technology moves so fast, it's a different rhythm of innovation. Where cars, you can say I got a 20-year-old car and you love this shit because it's a different approach. But when cars become technology, then your value to them could publicly change. So purpose is mean. Keep going. This is great.
What if the function of a tree were not to survive and reproduce, but to capture all the nutrients in the soil and grow to unlimited size? Mm-hmm. People have imagined many purposes for a university besides dismantling knowledge, making money, indoctrinating people, and winning football games. A change in purpose can profoundly alter a system, even if every element and interconnection remain the same.
So, yeah, if you change the purpose, that can literally destroy a system. Keep going.
To ask whether elements, interconnections, or purposes are most important in a system is to ask an unsystemic question. All are essential. All interact. All have their roles. But the least obvious part of the system, its functions or purpose, is often the most crucial determination of the system's behavior.
Trust me, that's the pimp game right there. If you can master seeing functions and purposes of things, the world looks totally different. If you look at America through its function and purpose, it's totally different than the rhetoric. It's totally different than the elements in it, or whether it's white, black, Asian. Once you understand business, government, everything's function, everything changes. Everything changes. I promise you, I rarely ever hear anybody acknowledging people's function and purpose. System functions and people purposes. Keep going.
Interconnections are also critically important. Changing the relationships usually changes systems' behaviors. The elements, the parts of systems we are most likely to notice are
So real quick, that's a very important part. Most of us are mostly likely to notice just the elements. Keep going. Systems are most likely to notice.
Systems are most likely to notice, are often, not always, least important in defining the unique characteristics of the system, unless changing an element also results in changing relationships or purpose. Changing just one leader at the top from I don't know what that said.
That was Russian leadership. Best have to Gorbachev.
From bruh.
Gorbachev.
Or.
Yeah.
From a Carter.
From bruh to Gorbachev. Let me give a black class real quick for bruh.
From a Carter to a Reagan.
Reagan. Yeah.
May or may not turn an entire nation in a new direction. However, its land, factories, and hundreds of millions of people remain unchanged. A leader can make that land and those factories and people play a different game with new rules, or can direct the play towards a new purpose. And conversely, because land, factories, and people are long-lived, slowly changing physical elements of the system, there is a limit to the rate at which any leader can turn the direction of a nation.
Okay, can you now see how Donald Trump is not gonna make that much of a fucking impact? You know what's now? If Donald Trump, you start seeing laws move, he is now impacted the interconnection, which means he has more power. If he changes if he's able to change the purpose in our mind by changing the story, that will be huge. But if he comes in and he rattles the system, the rhetoric of the news, oh my God, he said this. When the court, and then when he gets sued, if the court starts to say, nah, he's right, and they ride with him, that's relevant. Look, a lot of things that Donald Trump has said and proposed to do, we can all agree we don't like how he does it. It's trash, right? Even this immigration thing, how he's doing it is trash. But a lot of shit he's done, it's not new. It's what the system's been doing. You think the system was nice to immigration the last 3 or 4 presidents? No. You think the system didn't believe in law and order? It's always believed in law and order. It's just that what happens is that we don't look at the system. We're hypnotized by him as an element. Can he have impact? Is it possible? Yes, he can. But a change that you're suggesting doesn't happen that quick. It just doesn't. Now, it doesn't mean that we couldn't go to war or some other shit, but change is a slow-ass process. And for America to change, America has been changing all this time. But the change that we discuss is not the change that we should be focused on, nor do we know how to vote for, nor do we know how to participate for, nor do we know how to design a business and how to live within. We get caught up in all this hype-ass, short-term pop cultural politics. That's why we talk to like economists and you ask them how you feel about Donald Trump, and they don't respond with the same urgency of your question, is because they understand Donald Trump is not the latest pop news, that the system doesn't permit that no matter who in the fuck he is. And if he only has 3.5 years left, it's different. The more years he has, the more possible impact he can have to the system by influencing purpose and the laws. The laws is the interaction, interchanging, right? But if you start seeing the laws side with him in things that are anti the Constitution, that means that's a huge change. That's a huge fucking change. But the president can be like, you know what? Fuck it, I want this to happen. And they'd be like, law won't let you. All right, fuck it. I want to do this. We're not going to fund it. Okay. Well, I want to do this. Well, the Congress, okay, then that means he doesn't have the control. Now, is he unpresidential and does he have other damage that he could be causing? Of course there's other damage. And I'm not getting into all that because that's a whole fucking discussion in itself. I'm arguing that our fears don't match the way the system works. The system suggests that, now, not saying that he can't cause some fuck-ups. Not saying he can't cause some problems, but in anything, when you see things happen in society, you got to know, is it a systemic change or it is an anomaly in the system? And it's just a blip, like bloop, and it's just, okay, but the system returns, right? And in America, we have those all the time. With things, it happens in your human body all the time. You may get a special bump on your hand and realize, oh, it's just a bump. You know the difference between the bump and the cancer. But you get a lot of more bumps and weird ass, cysts and all kind of shit that's happening to you because your body has these anomalies. You have these situations. You may have, stomach pains or headaches, or you have anomalies. But imagine every time you had a headache, it became a panic conversation. And then after a while, you have 4 headaches, a stomach ache, and your knees were sore, and now you're like, I'm dying. All the world's going to hell. I feel like Hitler's in my body. Can we slow down a little bit? Slow down a little bit. It doesn't work like that. Keep going. We're almost done with this. To wrap this up.
The least obvious part of the system, its functions or purpose, is often the most crucial determinant of the system's behavior. Mm-hmm. If the interconnections change, the system may be greatly altered. It may even become unrecognizable, even though the same players are on the same team. Change the rules from those of football to those of basketball, and you've got, as they say, a whole new ball game.
So you see why your laws and rules are so important? How fuck with your laws and rules can literally change everything. That's why when you're managing your company, a bad employee is a minor problem to you. A change of laws is a major problem to you. Keep going.
If you change the interconnections in the tree, say that instead of taking in carbon dioxide and emitting oxygen, it does the reverse, it would no longer be a tree. It would be an animal.
Ooh. Come on, you stay with me. So, like, you running your business and you decide, you know what, since I got this business, I gotta do the nails for some of my customers because they do have nails. You just change your business. This remember back then, it's like, yo, focus on one thing. You doing multiple things is actually destroying your business because you're setting different purpose. So when you start bringing people into that, you're gonna have a clusterfuck. You gotta simplify your business. You can simplify your purpose so you can gain some traction, and you can then start to establish where do you sit competitively in the market. But yet, if you start looking for different ways to hustle and start doing all these little side jobs that are far from your core purpose, you'll wake up one day, you don't even have the same business. Now that's okay, because sometimes you do that as well. Fight Media core purpose was photography and graphic designs. Today, it's the minor of what we do, and the major of what we do is strategy, right? So we changed our purpose because the market changed, and when we saw behavior changes in the market. For example, when the iPhone came out and a motherfucker was able to have no knowledge of photography and do this, and didn't have to understand lighting or anything, we realized that our high value around photography just dropped. Now, technology hadn't gotten there yet, but what it said was, I'm going that way. So when I used to teach photography class, I used to tell people, being a good photographer doesn't mean anything in the future. It's the ability to tell a story. So as I leaned into stories, I got more, it started to gravitate towards strategy, and I realized the most valuable asset I can have at this point in the game is thinking, not my art. So that in itself changed everything because I'm looking at the system that's driving where I'm going to drive the company. But if I'm just looking at elements, I don't see nothing. I'm always late to the game. Keep going.
If students in a university were to grade their professor, or if arguments were won by force instead of reason.
Shakina.
Shut up. Don't be coming for me in these slides. And then you got me reading them. Bruh, the place would need a different name. A second. Sorry, y'all. It might be an interesting organization, but it would not be a university. Mm-hmm. Changing interconnections in a system can change it dramatically.
Go ahead.
Changes in function or purpose also can be drastic. What if you keep the players and the rules, but change the purpose? From winning to losing, for example. Wait, didn't I just read this? Same thing? I think it repeats.
Yeah. Go next one.
Okay. Changing elements versus changing rules. Mm-hmm. Story. The basketball court. Imagine you formatted a basketball team. You picked talented players, but notice the team struggles to win consistently. Initially, you think replacing a player or two will fix the issue, but no improvement follows. Then you change your strategy, the rules your team follows on the court. You emphasize passing the ball more and teamwork over individual scoring. Suddenly, the same players become far more effective and your team starts winning consistently. Lesson: changing players' elements has less impact than changing the strategy or rules, relationship, and interaction.
So we're going to read each one of these. This is a simplification of what I just taught you. All that stuff you just read, I mean, these will be 5 examples. We're just going to read them. I'm going to have very little to say. We're going to get out of here after this. So that's the first one is changing elements versus changing rules. That's a simple story of how a team that didn't change the players changed the way they interacted, and all of a sudden the game performed differently. You see, that's one example. Next slide. These are all. This is a simplification of everything I just taught. Next slide.
Purpose over activity. The busy cafe. Imagine two coffee shops next to each other. Both shops sell coffee and pastries. One cafe prioritizes quick service and sales volume. The other emphasizes community building, encouraging customers to linger, meet, and share ideas. Initially, both cafes seem similar, both busy, both popular. But over time, the community-focused cafe builds loyal customers who become regulars and bring friends,
That's a core Smith tactic.
creating sustained business through relationships and repeat visits. The first cafe, however, struggles to maintain repeat customers depending solely on passing trade. Lesson: clarity of purpose shapes long-term success more profoundly than mere daily activities.
So being really fast, really efficient, really excellent, hardworking, really clean, really structured, building long-term relationships, that's system. You understand systems. So by you building relationships by you being clear about your purpose, that allows you to build relationships with people. But by you being efficient and quick service, doesn't mean you have a relationship. There's a lot of businesses that close. There's a lot of businesses you won't even fuck with who run an excellent business, but they don't see you. They're not for you. They're not aligned with what you need. You go to a restaurant and the restaurant runs really, really well, but it doesn't have a you don't identify with its purpose. But when you identify with a purpose, it allows you to have tolerance for fuck ups. But when you don't, but if you don't identify with purpose, you fuck up. I can just execute our relationship like I'm done with you. Next one.
Interconnections and information flow.
Interconnection, information flow. This is a good one. Go ahead.
Friendly neighborhood bakery. A bakery opens focusing entirely on baking delicious bread. Initially popular, it gradually loses customers. The owner, puzzled, assumes customers simply prefer larger chain stores.
Kaja.
A friend notices that the bakery never actively seeks customer feedback. When the bakery starts collecting suggestions and responding quickly, customers returned, impressed by the attentiveness and improved menu items. Lesson: entrepreneurs who ignore crucial information flows, customer feedback, miss critical system connections that sustain and grow their business.
So you start to see how the system come alive. This helps you understand like why feedbacks are a part of your. That's like you go into the tree and you stop the flow of the liquid from the leaves to the roots and back. Feedback is your flow. It is the flow of your heart. It's just go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so in response to this, a lot of my customers ask me, can you shoot video and photo too? And want me to do it back and forth in the same event. And it's getting more and more common now that the demand is not hiring a photographer or a videographer, but hiring a human who captures the whole thing. Eventually, do you have to accept that the quality of your work will dip and that you have to provide customers with what they're asking for versus what you believe you're best at giving, or is that people pleasing?
No, you don't get to stay the same. Part of that is you're playing defense. What's the offensive? Think about that same thought you just said and process it through an offensive lens. What could you do to provide that kind of service? What prices would you have to charge? What would that look like, right? And in that process, like, are you allowed to hire an assistant? How would that all impact that process? And also, too, when you say the quality goes down, that's you projecting what you think is the quality they come to expect. If I get the pictures I expect and the video looks better than my cell phone, and to you it's a C, but to me it's an A+, you're the best business in the world. The person best positioned is better than the most talented person, time and time again. And so what you just did was you threw up defense against opportunity to reposition yourself. Keep going. Next one.
Unintended consequences and systems thinking.
Another one. Great one. Keep going.
The app developer. A startup creates an app designed to boost productivity by rewarding speed. Initially, productivity increases dramatically. Over time, however, quality begins to decline significantly as employees rush to complete tasks for rewards rather than accuracy. The startup changes the incentive structure to reward accuracy and teamwork, resulting in balanced productivity and sustained quality. Lesson: Understanding unintended consequences requires thinking and how different elements in a system affect each other.
So a lot of times, if you don't understand incentives, and you create a plan, you don't realize what are the opposite incentives it also creates. So if you say, I'm gonna build tiny homes for homeless people, you don't understand the system. You understand the system thinking, you don't understand unintended consequences. So when you finally get those tiny homes, and you're like, this place is like a shit show with these houses I spent $300,000 a piece for, because they paying these exorbitant prices, right? But let's say you pay these crazy prices, and you go to this camp after like a year later, you're like, I wouldn't even send my enemy in this space. Well, it's because you didn't think about the unintended consequences. I mean, if you build these houses, what else would you have to do? Because it's creating other incentives, right? And that's so important. Or how is it going to impact people's status? When you create this system and people engage it, what are the status impacts of these changes? All these type of things that you don't think about, that a lot of times you can be bombarded with excitement when you first get with the idea, that you don't realize that you're creating a system. And the system has unintended consequences. And sometimes something that seems to be good, why you know who suffers the most from that? The black community, or any other community that's ever been serviced by a richer community. A lot of times white folks will try to help black people out from a good heart. And it's not that they're bad people. It's that they don't realize that it's a system and it had unintended consequences because they didn't understand the culture. One of the reasons we provide insights is to try to get a head start on the possible unintended consequences, right? Because a lot of times you can go in and be like, oh yeah, we're going to give people this item. And then you come back and you're like, they're using it for what? That's a cultural disconnect. And that's why it's hard to help any culture as a holdout, because it's a system. And if you change one part of the system, there's been cases where people have went into like Africa or Asia or certain places in Europe and tried to help people out. And then when they left, they caused more damage. Because they understand the interconnection of all these things they're doing. And so when you left, the people that built dependency on this new system, that almost what happened with us in COVID. People started receiving those checks during COVID. And when those checks cut off, people weren't ready for that. It's a system. Once you understand things from a system, you can think differently. You could even, okay, let's just say you still had to give people money because of COVID, whatever. But your brain would have said part 2 is going to be, part 3 is going to be, because it's a system. You just changed and disrupted an age. If people have been feeding themselves this whole time this way, and you change it to this way, and they get used to it, and it has sugar or these other addictive things that they've learned to love, and you take that away, you think they're just gonna go back to the old system? You know what I mean? You know that one of the reports from the people who lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was the reason Black Wall Street died is because their kids went to go get jobs. And then when the kids decided they wanted to come back, they didn't systemically understand how to run Black Wall Street. So they came back and they just poured in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you guys understand, like, systems are there's a reason you're supposed to have an elder in your culture and young people, and you're supposed to have systems and structure, because that is actually helping you stay robust and healthy and move forward. The problem, we got to this point where individualism and reductionism and elements have been the conversation, and we start neglecting and throwing away the systems or the value of the systems, and only becoming, now we're a victim of the water, but we don't even know that we're supposed to be managing the water. And then when shit happens, we just keep pointing fingers at people. Oh, they stupid. This is what's wrong with black men. This is wrong with black women. No, it's a systemic problem. And if you don't understand that, fucking with the elements is not having a real conversation. I promise you, when you engage other businesses, when you're out here dealing with, when you're running a business, you are a system. You're running a system. And yet you're running a system, but the only thing you talk about is elements. You got to get to behind the scenes. And mind you, this conference class is going to go, this is just priming you for the next class and next class. By the time we get through the end of this year, you're going to have so much insight on the behind the curtains of what make things work, to the point you'll realize that when everybody else is sleeping, you might be awake. And when everybody's awake, you might be asleep. Go ahead.
You say that symptoms and root causes are interchangeable with elements and systems? So symptoms being elements, root causes being systems?
All right. All right. Symptoms. Okay. So would I say it again? Because I caught
Would you
the
say
words.
that they're interchangeable? That we could just say that elements are symptoms and then systems are root causes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times and a lot of times that's how we're talking. If you watch most stuff on social media, most news reporters from Fox to CNN to MSNBC, they're element reporting. The guy created a crime, and then he, she, they, government, those are elements. That's not telling me. I still don't know how to fix the problem. This is why when you, like, even today's, a lot of these politicians are coming straight from popular culture to politics. They're less informed on how to solve these problems. COVID was mismanaged in the Bay Area, not because people intended to manage the system. They didn't understand systems. If you understand systems and you're going to send all these human beings home, do you understand the psychological impact of sending everybody home? And tell them to sit in their house for 2 years? Do you understand systems? That means you're going to have to run a new system for that system to work. But instead, they just say, go home and everybody just should do that and it should be cool. I don't understand why people are tripping now. It's a cold ass game. Is this the last slide? Huh?
2 more.
Okay, roll. Let's see the
Also,
next one.
There's a question online from Fern.
Okay, go ahead.
She said, are we going to dive deep into interconnections over the next few classes?
Yes, in a way. We're going to get into the degree of interconnections. I'm going to really go further. I'm going to keep going deeper. I'm trying to give you guys ownership. By the time you get through this next book, I want you guys to be in a position where you can see how, because before you can understand systems, you got to understand yourself, because you're a complex system. And if you're engaging it wrong, because you have a lot of fallacies, a lot of biases, a lot of distortions, but you stand on those like they're facts. Even if I put a system challenge in front of you, the first crippling challenge is going to be you. All right, read this real quick.
Aligning sub-goals with overall purpose. Story: the eco-friendly clothing brand. An entrepreneur launches a clothing brand committed to sustainability. Yet initially, the team mistakenly focuses only on cutting cost. Cheaper materials, reduced immediate expenses, but contradict the brand's stated purpose of sustainability. Recognizing the misalignment, the entrepreneur realigns internal decisions, prioritizing sustainably sourced materials. Even if slightly more expensive, this alignment reinforces their purpose, enhancing brand loyalty and profitability long term.
Patagonia does this. Keep going.
Lesson: sub-purposes or departmental goals must align clearly with the overall organization's purpose to prevent internal conflicts and customer confusion.
And last slide.
Systems and identity. Grandma's recipe. Your grandmother hands you a treasured cookie recipe. You bake it, but it never tastes quite the same. You realize you've been focusing only on elements rather than how grandma combined them, timed each step, and infused care into the baking relationships. When you replicate her process exactly, your cookies finally taste like grandma's again. Lesson: the identity of a system, like a business or product, is preserved by consistent interactions with and methods, not just by the elements themselves.
So you can have all the great players on your team. How they engage, the culture that they exist in, it separates you from one business from another business. Go back to the basketball players. You got a group of basketball players who play on a team, and they all superstars. They all Kevin Durant's. But if their connection, their relationships are not right, they're going to be a losing team. Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns had 3 great basketball players, and they didn't get out the first round. I didn't know they didn't make it to the playoffs. They didn't get past the play-in. And the reality is that because the chemistry wasn't there. Where you can get a team like the Pacers, an individual, the Pacers don't have a Kevin Durant. They don't have what's the cat? The light-skinned dude that was on their team on Phoenix.
Devin Booker.
Kevin Booker.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker. Excuse me, Devin Booker. They don't have a Devin Booker. Devin Booker is raw as hell. But what happens is that when you watch the Pacers play, they mind you what the Warriors did. The team chemistry is cold. Them cats swarm like a team on, like the way they play and move as a team. Same thing. I remember the old Celtics when they won the championship when they had Paul Pierce. Their defense wasn't an individual player, it was so cold. Their team defense was amazing to watch, right? That's where we get this game distorted. Once you understand systems, you can see how you could take even average people and create a cold system and have a high level outcome. All right, with that being said, next week we're going to have a kind of a discussion space. And the following week we'll come back with Think Twice. You can start reading the book. It's going to be challenging. I'm going to try to make this book as playful, fun, and comfortable as possible. But I'm going to try to change some of the language in this class and some of the language of the students. And by the time we get to this Think Twice book, you'll see systems in ways you never saw before. And even the Think Twice books starts off with system principles, but first you got to think different to access how to manage systems. With that being said, hey man, y'all have a good night, man. I'm tired as hell. I'll see y'all in a minute. Peace.